And welcome back to ScavTalk, everyone. Today's episode, we'll be discussing some hot new Tarkov cheats. Not promoting them, but maybe something to be aware of coming out in the allegedly Tarkov cheats. We don't really know. We'll get into that in the details. Followed by some community drama, if you will. Pestily calling out some of the Tarkov creators for embedding. We'll get into that, the details. And we'll be discussing also hyenas, the Tarkov killer that died. It killed itself. It committed suicide. Okay,
before really even its entrance into the market.
Yes, I did extensive research on that game because it was the first time I was hearing about it. It's like, it's just funny. You get an announcement, new game, extract shooter's dead. It's like, what? When was it ever like relevant? What? Mm-hmm. It's like more relevant that it's dead now, which is hilarious. So continue on. Road to Vostok, I don't know, ditches Unity for a new engine, which we'll be talking about that. And then be discussing some of the Tarkov in-game goals and how it's opened up and is a bit more non-linear. And then finally, I'm going to talk about Liza P, the Dark Souls clone that's surprisingly good. That's a lot of topics, dude.
It is, yeah. But I think it's kind of it's an interesting one simply because like literally nothing has happened in Tarkov itself this week. It's all other things outside of that. And I guess the only piece of news that literally just came out a few minutes ago, or not, maybe was it today in general? I think that BSG are going to be in TwitchCon Vegas, I think.
Yes, I did see that.
I think that's the only piece of news. I think Nice Guy confirmed it like a minute ago or something, saying like, oh, they're going to be there. And there's going to be Arena again. There's going to be like copies of Arena there. I think that's what he said. Let me just triple check to make sure I'm not just peddling misinformation on the internet, the way that it goes. Yeah, so complete confirmation Arena will be at TwitchCon next month. That was from Nice Guy. And given he said, I'm working on getting a good pass and finding a floor to sleep on, and then I would like to say Jesse Kazam is a legend, I presume that he's sleeping on his floor. I don't know where Jesse is in relation, or maybe he's got a room himself. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly like how far he is from there, but anyway, out of context, it did look kind of funny. But so I think that's the only piece of actual Tarkov news is that those guys are going to be there at TwitchCon. Bit of a long way for me to go. I think it's very unlikely that I will be going to TwitchCon, but it's one of those things where you think like, everybody will be there kind of thing. So kind of tempting in some sense to even just sort of like look into it a bit. But I don't even know how you get a ticket, honestly. I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it at all. So look out for some more stuff from VSG at that event.
Mm-hmm. Fun. Yeah, because I think they're just wrapping up in Japan currently because some type of gaming convention there. And you might have mentioned this. I was playing around with some Skype settings, but Nice Guy was saying confirmation of Arena will be at TwitchCon, not just BSG's presence, but Arena specifically. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And what's interesting is that the Cologne event seemed to be, because that was the first one, it was like an invite only to play Arena. So you could go as the member of the public and go and see the stand, but you couldn't go into the back area and play Arena. You could just go and see the stand and do all the other stuff. In Japan, it seemed like anybody could go and play Arena. So they were opening it out a little bit more. So I presume that's probably the same at TwitchCon as well. So maybe we'll see more people's feedback on how they think it is, stuff like that. Because I don't think, I don't really know of any Japanese streamers particularly. I know that there's a Japanese community for the game, but I'm not aware of anybody in that community. I think they're mostly their own separate community most of the time. Probably just simply due to language barrier. Us to them more so than them to us, to be fair. Their English is probably much better than my Japanese, let's put it that way. So it'll be interesting to see at TwitchCon when more people's takes on Arena and what they think of it. We shall see. So I think that's the only actual like Tarkov news itself. Outside of that, there's been like a whole range of people talking about hackers and cheaters and all this stuff. I think like the anecdotal experience is that it is currently getting worse and that it's not feeling very good right now in the game. I'm not sure. I've had some more encounters that are a little bit suspicious, but also you can explain them. So like, who knows? As I've always said, as a solo, it's hard. I got one tapped in the side of the head by 855 in the underground of Interchange. like I reported it, but like, you know, I would say
Sure.
my confidence level is probably 20%, 30%, something like that. Like if it's not, you know, if it's above like 10%, I'll probably just report anyway. Just in case, because yeah, it doesn't hurt if it's not, but if it is, then it just adds one more point to the tally chart. Like, because I killed a guy the other day, and he was running a Rogue M4 with 855. So, you know, it's totally legitimate to have that happen. I'm always surprised that people do it and run that ammo. Honestly, in an M4, I don't know. I'm just always shocked. Given that,
You don't.
especially given 86A1 or 56A1 is like so early now.
Yeah. I mean, but like, they're not really playing the game. You know, they're like they are, but like the cheat's doing a lot of the work, so they don't have to like
But I'm
do.
saying, like, if they're not cheating, you know what I mean? Like, because there's
Oh, if
people
they're
who
not
legitimately, like,
cheating.
yeah, I killed some guy the other day with an M4. He wasn't cheating. He was just running a Rogue M4 with 855. I'm like, okay, cool. You know, you you do you, but it's
He's probably doesn't realize there's an ammo chart on the wiki. He's
exactly like maybe
probably
he's just one of those people that just plays the game and doesn't interact
yeah.
with the community, maybe, or something, or they just like can't be bothered and they just go for it. I think whatever. If I hit a headshot, well, I mean, they were right, you know, or the other guy was right if he wasn't cheating. So like, yeah, it's very hard for me to know. But yeah, a lot of people are saying that it's getting bad again. You know, I've seen a bunch of like you could see why people like Tigs get kind of salty because I do think they get targeted genuinely. Like I've
Oh
seen
yeah.
quite a few things from on his streams just in general. Like what was it the other day? Oh yeah, because somebody mentioned about he did a big post on Twitter about something and um Tulu actually messaged back to him was just like, "Oh, you doing your cabbage thing was like really funny."
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to Cabbage just to look at the VOD just to go and see like what he was doing, and he was basically putting on the tier 3 like huge big helmet and playing like the RuneScape music. And they were like farming on labs they were just like camping on labs. Just it was just like messing about basically. But yeah, like went to streets and there's like a guy runs past. There's like a guy runs past the like one of the archways, you know, where the Skybridge area is, like in the middle of the map. There's just like two guys. He's like sat in a tree with the SVT, and two guys run past. One guy with like literally no gear on whatsoever, and the other guy that's like, you know, fast MT like tree backpack, and it's like, and some people are just like, oh, how do you know it's hacked for? How do you know it's hacked for? And like the guy just like looks, peeks, and then just like one taps him in the tree basically, and it's like, if you don't think that that's like, you know, probably more likely than not to be a carry service, then I don't know what to tell you. So like I do feel for Tiggs and those guys because I do think they see this stuff a lot more than I do. Or maybe I'm just blissfully ignorant. I don't know. But yeah, either which way. Before I go too crazy off on one, I think a lot of people thinking that ban wave is necessary. People haven't been getting reports back for a bit, so maybe they're waiting and collecting data because that happens, right? They wait, they collect data, and then they ban everybody in one go, so they don't figure out exactly what it was that, you know, was the issue.
Yeah, I mean, usually it's a monthly thing, right? Like they'll post at the end of the month. I mean, maybe it's not monthly, but you know, they ban over the course of X amount of days. We ban X amount of cheaters, not like the big spreadsheet thing.
True. So I think we're probably due for one of those. There was a couple of specific ones that seem to have come to light. One that was kind of crazy, which I think Logical Solutions put on his, which was somebody with question mark icons with it. So somebody killed a cheater and they had like question mark item icons in their bag. And the items were like physical game objects, like the manifestation of physical game objects. So it was things like computer block and duffel bag and, you know, that kind of thing, like in a 1x1 slot in their bag, which they were like, maybe it's a bug, but I think people have only ever seen it when people are hacking. I mean, it's just like it probably is some kind of weird cheat. I don't even know why that would be useful, but
well, I mean, to me, it looks like because I got the screenshot up, and it's like the actual menus, like when you double click on them to inspect it, because he's got it in his bag, right? Okay, so you know he's got a scav or a tri-zip, and there's a dog tag, and then there's, you know, 1x1s and 4 of them, and they have like this red question mark, and this one says PC block, and one says common fund, then one says weapon B duffel bag, and then when you open them, the full title comes out, common fund stash, which I guess that's a cache
Well,
Or
I
maybe,
think that one's the Sturman box.
but it's only a CPU fan, 3 Wilsons, and the two CPU fans, 3 Wilsons. That seems really, unless it's already been, yeah.
Oh.
I mean, that's what I was thinking too, but I mean, unless it got like looted, I don't know. But this is what's in there, right? And then the duffel bag has a weapon repair kit in it. And it's like, I mean, it's a 4x. Oh, you know what? I think you're right. That is the common fund stash, is the Sturman stash, because it's like a 5x5. And I think caches are like 4x3s or 3x4s.
Or 4x4s? I can't remember.
Something like that.
Anyways. I think they might be 4x4 stashes, but yeah.
Yeah, the duffel bag's 4x3, and it's got a weapon repair kit. And then the weapon box one is a 6x3, and it's got a valve in it, like a with a mount and a red dot on there. And then the, what is this, LBT? I guess this is like a rig, or no, it's a backpack.
That's the day pack, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess that's the backpack he got off of someone. I don't know, but it's got like an AKMS in there. That's got like Gluhar guards type of mods on it, like a suppressor, the Troy gas tube, a 30-round mag, and like a wooden pistol grip with the folding stock. And then it's got like 2 60-rounders, the drum mag, and then the snag informs in it, a couple CMSs, and it's just like, it looks like, to me, like, again, assuming this actually, I don't think it's been doctored. I don't think. Let's see. I don't know if this is actually from Logix. He just says a player scap killer PMC, and then the nickname of this dog tag was molehester_TTV. So killed by some scav name, but
yeah.
Anywho, I mean, to me, I could see this being like a cheat where like they can spawn in their bag, this PC block thing, and then it's a loot pool, or maybe it's, I don't know. It's possible this is completely doctored, but I really don't know.
Yeah, it seems unlikely. So that's a strange one. I'm not really sure what else to say about it, other than it doesn't seem. I've not seen loads of people talking about it, just a couple of people.
Following that, the following day, or maybe it was like a couple hours, BSG had launched a technical update, which I kind of like jokingly speculated, coincidence? I think not. Or
I see.
But
I could see it.
Who knows?
I can see it. Yeah, and then there was another one, which was more prolific, it seemed. Lots of people were running into it, which is the all doors open hack. It was a great one. Just get into raid, every door unlocked. All of them. So people were seeing it on streets, shoreline, like literally every single door unlocked. Half the time, stuff wasn't even looted. So there was some like weird hack to do that. And on Reddit, a thread got quite popular where, I mean, I don't know where they got it from. Maybe it's one of the SPT people or somebody who fiddles around with SPT so they can see some of the code. A piece of code, I mean, whether this is true or not, I don't know, right? The internet just makes up random stuff sometimes, but presuming it's true for a minute. Exactly. Presuming it's true, there was a piece of code floated basically saying that BSG devs had left a backdoor in for themselves to open up all doors on the map and hadn't like locked it down. And so hackers had like got into that and had utilized that to open all the doors on the map. But I mean, like a ton of people were finding that happening in their raids. Going to like all the Concordia rooms, all open. But like not enough stuff was looted. That was the thing. Like there was just nothing really looted there. So unless they just like go in raid, just unlock everything, and then just target a couple of high value items and leave, or whether it is a legitimate bug that's appearing, who really knows? But people have been experiencing that, and it's kind of weird.
Yep, you said it.
Indeed. Where do you want to transition this? Do you want to transition this towards the community stuff, or would you rather speak about some of the game stuff first? What's your preference?
Let's just do the community stuff. I got my tabs open here.
Okay. You got the receipts again.
I got the receipts. So this was what's the date? The 25th. When Pestily made this post, and I mean, to be fair, this topic has came up a few times. I
It's
think
been rumbling.
Yeah, I think notably Airwing has mentioned it.
One Peg was the person that I know has been on the
Oh yeah,
warpath about this.
yeah. Very recently, he's definitely been
He even did a big YouTube video
campaigning
about it.
about it. I would say so. Pestily tweets, "Hey, food EFT," which I think that's no food after midnight. The kind of like the OG of ammo charts. I'll pay you $2,000 USD a week to take your Indra and Nick Millen's embed off your ammo chart site and give me the 2K viewer embed instead. This is why, and then he goes on to say, this is why embed should be banned. I could literally offer him a deal. He would be stupid to refuse, and it would be legal paid view botting. Sponsors wouldn't be educated enough to know which streams have embeds or not, and I can usually make this money back on sponsor deals. It's just yucky and deceptive, and Twitch, you should do better and get rid of them counting as actual views, and people embedding should be more ethically included to not use them as they come across as a con artist deceiving people. And he's got a screenshot of some statistics that honestly I can't really make heads or tails of, but it looks like some pretty inflated numbers, drastically going from like 5K to 2K to like one day it's like 16 viewers. And I guess to start off, I think I saw some people not really understanding what embeds are. So yeah, I'll pass to you, Giga. What are embeds?
So the embeds thing has been rumbling on for a while, and it's not a Tarkov specific thing. There's like this has been going on in other places as well. And so effectively what an embed is somebody has a website somewhere that is more or less popular in whatever format, but we'll talk about EFT in particular. Let's talk about like an ammo website specifically, because I think No Food's website, I think it's his EFT ammo.com or something. I don't actually use this website because like all of his information's on the wiki, so I just use the ballistics wiki page. But anyway, so somebody creates a popular website, and what you can do is you can embed your stream on the website to autoplay, and from there, anybody who's on the site just browsing the website is technically watching your stream, and on Twitch, that counts as a view. So if you have an extremely popular website, but you're not that popular a streamer necessarily, I mean, you may or may not be, right? But like you could, say you've never even really streamed on Twitch, but you have a popular website, you can literally put your Twitch, live stream on the website, embed it into the website itself, and then you'll have as many viewers as are on that webpage. So obviously you have to have a popular website, right? You can't just do it from nothing. But the issue here is that Twitch basically allows this and allows them to count as views because they're not really incentivized to discount these things. Twitch sells advertising revenue on its website based upon number of viewers, and if they got rid of embeds, then the total number of views would be lower, so the amount of ad revenue they'd probably be able to sell is smaller. It's one of those things where they feel probably the overall versus the overall number of views, the actual the number of embedded views is small enough not to worry about, or at least it's not like it's not fraudulent on a macro scale for them. So I mean, it's arguable, right? I don't actually know what the split is, but I would guess that it is relatively small as a portion of the overall total viewership.
Probably.
But so from a Twitch's perspective, they don't really care. From an individual content creator's perspective, it can make quite a big difference, and especially it can make a big difference to the category that you sit in, right? And it's why sometimes there's certain people who you can go to their chat and they've got lots of people, either hundreds or like multiple thousands, and the chat moves like a 30, 40, 50 viewer, or even 100 viewer chat, like whatever, right? It's like a small fraction of what it says on the tin. And it's just a bit weird because there's nothing stopping you doing this, but clearly it's a little bit strange. And I think there's a bit of like, other streamers get angry about it due to the unfairness of it. People grind their way up to the numbers, and they have organic viewership, and then people leapfrog over them with numbers based on people that aren't even watching the stream. I believe that you can have it like a tiny, like 1x1 pixel, but I don't think that's allowed technically. Like if they caught you doing that, I don't think that's allowed. But even still, if the stream's just like playing off in the corner or something, that's like legitimate from Twitch's perspective. So people get annoyed because of the unfairness of it, and also sort of distorting the category, pushing people up above people who've like worked together legitimately. So there's definitely a feeling of unfairness there. But there's more of the thing. I think the most strong point for me, and the reason why Twitch should really do something about it, is from the business side, in that many companies, especially like the ones that are promoting products on social media, and that's YouTube, Twitch, wherever, a vast majority of those companies don't actually really understand the space that well. Like they have people appointed to do it, but maybe they share that job with other bits of marketing. It might be one marketing manager for all forms of media. Right? It depends on the company. So some companies obviously will understand it well, but there's many that don't. And you could genuinely end up in a situation where a bunch of companies and sponsors do not want to sponsor in the live space anymore because they pay for a 2,000 viewer stream and they don't really make anything off it because there's only 20 or 30 people there. So they get no engagement whatsoever. They don't really sell any product, which is what they're there for, right? Let's be honest.
Yep.
And they think, well, this sucks, right? The conversion rate is terrible. Whereas if you went to a 150 viewer person who's got everybody watching chat, they might get 5 times or 6 times the engagement that they would from somebody who's embedding. And because there's no way to tell from the front end whether someone's embedding or not, it could technically be misleading towards businesses wanting to sponsor and then end up hurting everybody because people can't trust the stats, or they feel like it's not worthwhile investment. Now there are tools, and Pestily shows them in his thread. I think there are some tools that show you can see the split between real viewers and non-real viewers. So Twitch does actually do the calculation somewhere. They just don't segregate it on their website for some reason. And you can go and see that because there was some people were, I think, the main person that people are going after is No Food because he has his stream or has had his stream in the past embedded on the website. Is Ammo website that a lot of people use. But Ender also caught some flack too because I think she was doing some work for him or something, and she was included on his website at one point or whatever. I don't really know the details of her involvement or something, but I know people were going after her a little bit. She was retorting to Pestily, being like, well, didn't you embed when you were doing the stints, some stints promotion? Because his stream was embedded on the Gleam website, and Gleam is a giveaways platform basically, but it's a little bit different. And Pestily showed, well, firstly, people don't just sit on a giveaways website. That's not where people spend their time. If people are on an Ammo website, they're going to sit there browsing through whatever. They're watching the stream kind of by accident, but they're there for another reason. People just navigate to a giveaways website to sign up for the giveaway and then they leave. And Pestily showed the statistics on his that it was a rounding error in terms of the actual number of viewers that are on his stream. It really didn't impact his stream. Whereas somebody like No Food potentially could get up to 90% of their viewers are literally not on Twitch. They're on some other website. So that's kind of the whole argument sort of against it, I would say. As I said, it's not a Tarkov specific problem. We really, in our space, only have No Food, who has, I don't know whether he's still doing it, honestly. I'm not sure even if he's streaming, to be honest. But as far as I'm aware, it's really only No Food who is doing it in the Tarkov space. But there's plenty of other examples in other games that engage in this kind of behavior, and they really have no reason to stop, honestly, if Twitch doesn't make them. So that's the thing. But the noise is getting louder and louder. So maybe they'll do something. But Twitch's track record of doing the right thing is, I would say, very, very poor.
Yeah. I don't really know. Like you laid it out, they're not really incentivized to do it. I would argue long term, they are incentivized to do it long term because eventually advertisers are going to catch on. Maybe they'll have their own ways of distinguishing real eyeballs versus not real eyeballs. Because another good example of this is Extra Life, which is basically a Wikipedia. I want to say that's right. Let me see, Extra Life. Let's pull it up. But it's so annoying because a new they have tons of entries for Dark Souls, I'm seeing Cyberpunk here, Liza P, which I checked out the wiki for a few things, and I think I actually let me turn off my ad blocker because I actually use my ad blocker to block the actual Twitch element. But now, yeah, funny enough. So I'm on the Liza P web wiki, and then over here I just got started to add on the Twitch embed, and he was streaming Cyberpunk, and it's just like right there, right, and it's like I'm not like technically it's there, right, but I'm not like actually watching it. You know what I mean? Like I mean, at least at the bare minimum, it's off to the side, like it's noticeable. But I have heard of practices where they do everything they can to like hide it, which is like even more problematic, I would say. So, and then like I remember seeing this back when New World was popular, like, and this is kind of the problem, right? It's like, okay, well, what's the problem? Because like on one hand, I don't really fault anyone for doing what they can to secure themselves financially. You know what I mean? However, I think the problem comes into play when we start thinking about the platform itself and the industry. So like with Twitch, let's say a new game comes out and I want to go watch someone live stream and play it. So I pull up Twitch, maybe I check my following tab and see if any of my, favorite streamers are playing my parasocial streamers. And they're not. So I go to the category, and then what happens? It's going to show you the top viewer first. The highest, it's top to bottom, right? It's what's the word?
Kingmaker.
Yes, thank you. That was the word I'm looking for. I just didn't know the right terminology. So if you have more views, you're going to be at the top. And the thing is, like, this isn't per TOS, like you said. It's not breaking TOS. It's Devin Nash even did a video on this not too long ago. If you want to look it up, it's pretty interesting. But he calls it like legal view botting, and like it totally is. But there's legal doesn't mean moral. There's a difference. So
indeed,
me personally, the way I see it is Twitch is like shooting themselves in the foot in the long run, and creators are shooting themselves because if they get like sponsored by whatever G Fuel company, once people catch on to this, like as you said, they're gonna get arguably a better return on real viewers, right? Because they're paying for eyeballs. You know what I mean? And probably not a large portion of the Twitch market space is engaging in this, but then let's say you're a streamer yourself, you're trying to come up, but again, because it's a top-down market, you're losing because you're not taking advantage of the legal system that screws over other people who don't engage with this legal system. I just think it's really problematic on many areas, and I've seen Ninja defend embeds in the past, which generally speaking, I really don't have any taking issues with Ninja. Like, I mean, she's as far as like her content goes, like she's incredible work ethic. I mean, really, a grinder. So, nothing against her personally, but it's just something I just don't agree with. So I think she even at some point, because she tried to do a reverse Uno on Pestily in a sense, and then Pestily reverse Uno that. I love the reverse Uno meme. Because as she said, it's not really the same thing. Anyways. So yeah, I just wish personally I'm not a Twitch user really. I prefer YouTube videos, so for me I kind of don't really care all that too much. But if I was to be a Twitch streamer, like I would care a lot about this, because I think it's even an advertiser, like I just think it's bad. Like Adobe Pro is paying some of their money that they're paying, not that I love Adobe or anything, but some of the money they're paying is like just going to waste essentially, because there's going to be a small subsection of certain, I don't know what the percentage is. Maybe it's like less than 5%, but I just think it's bad overall.
Yeah, this is the thing, right? It's like, don't feel bad for the big companies, but, do feel bad for the impact that it has on the creators who are there legitimately and doing it the right way. because they will be impacted by, like, if a company realizes that they're doing these sponsored streams or whatever and they're not getting the impact, they look at their ROI number, and rather than like going into a deep dive about exactly, you know, how does embedding and that, they'll just look at the number and be like, yeah, this marketing route just isn't working. We'll just go back to traditional marketing, or we'll just carry on marketing on YouTube or something. Like a good portion of them just won't bother, right? It's just not worth their time. They're just like, fine, which just is not very good for this for whatever reason, and it sucks. So that's the thing. You got to feel sorry for the creators who, you know, they really want to take these, you know, they actually want to take sponsorships or whatever on, to try and, you know, boost revenues. Because, like, yeah, the creator life ain't easy, right? And I'm just you know, as I said, don't feel sorry for the big companies, but like they're the ones who are deploying the cash that's going to your favorite creators, and those are the people who are ultimately going to get hurt. Like Adobe's not really going to care, really, ultimately, but they're the ones that are allocating the money to the people that you do care about.
Right.
So that's why it matters.
Yeah. No, for sure. And Pestily, you know, I think his main point, and a good, just to reiterate, is like someone could easily sell, you know, hey, I own a gaming news publication website. I'm on this third-party website. I'm going to sell, you know, views or whatever, and it's legal because it's embed, right? It's embed on this gaming, you know, fictitious gaming news outlet that he owns, where it gets tons of traffic. So like it presents more problems. It's like who wants to be in an industry where you pay your way to the top like this? You know, I don't know. It feels really poor for your, you know, workers, essentially your people that are in the same business as you. It's just really poor.
Exactly. It just seems very unfair. And then as Pestily says, he's like, you know, I could pay you 2,000 for the extra however many viewers,
right,
and then I could make it back on sponsored streams, and then that's just like really deceptive, right? That's like you're taking money based on like viewership from a company, but it's, you know, it's not real views. You know, it's like it's you just on the website, and it's just in a panel over there, and it serves you an ad, but like you're not really looking at the ad because it's in, you know, not making any sound, and it's off to the side, and you're reading whatever you're reading.
Right.
It's not like, it's not good. Not good. So yeah, that'll kind of blew up.
Which I'm glad. Sorry, what's that?
I said Wampeg's been very, very vocal about it over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, he has. Him, and then I'm glad Pestily spoke up about it, and, you know, called out some of the stuff going on in our community. But it is a issue at large. I mean, I can only imagine what other shenanigans go on. It's probably much more egregious because, like, you know, anyways, it's a problem. So that's that. Should we talk about?
Should we talk about Sneak for a minute? I want to talk about Sneak in particular.
For it.
This is like another community thing just before we get on to, like, you know, any other like real game stuff. So there's probably a bunch of people who just like aren't aware of this, but the Sneak Energy, who they used to sponsor like everybody, I think it's quite relevant, I think, in some ways, even though it's a different story. They used to sponsor pretty much everybody within the Tarkov streaming space. So anybody who wanted to rep energy drinks, most of them were sponsored by, I mean, some were sponsored by G Fuel and stuff, of course, but a vast proportion of people, and especially on the sort of the mid-sized and smaller creator side, were sponsored by Sneak. And I think some of them were paid. I think a lot of it was just like commission codes, like affiliate codes, which they're deemed pretty predatory within the creator space. Like from the outside, you think, you know, you rep the brand and then you get like, you know, 10% of any sales or something. It's like, it seems okay on the face of it. But the issue is that space, even if you're like relatively small, that space is worth more than just that, right? It's the amount that you will actually make off that is very, very, very small. You're basically giving away something of value for much less than it's worth. And Sneak kind of like broke themselves into the market by sort of like, I will say, preying on people who wanted to get the validity from, you know, being affiliated with some company or whatever, and they seemed pretty decent. The products were all right, whatever. Anyway, I mean, it was not really ever offered to me because I was kind of like still like really small on Twitch, I think, at this point, when lots of people were being promoted by Sneak, and I'm not really a big energy drinks guy anyway, so I'm not really that interested. But what happened overnight, one day, they just decided like, oh, well, we don't want to do this anymore. I think they had like, new management or something. They had like a different direction for the way they wanted to take the company. And yeah, they just cancelled everybody's contracts. I think some people had like re-signed, but they just got cancelled on. Like some people was like 1 or 2 weeks into like a new year contract and stuff, which was pretty crazy. And they dropped basically every creator that they had on the Tarkov roster on the live stream, which was nuts. But this was a while back. This is probably, how long would this be? Like maybe 9 months or something ago. I can't remember now. And
oh, this happened 9 months ago when they dropped everyone.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe 6 months, 9 months. Time is just a real blur to me. So no one's been sponsored by Sneak for a while. I don't know if this is like, I don't know if that particular thing was recent. Anyway, so they came out the other day being like, hey, we're re-rolling out, this new affiliate program where you can do this, that, and the other. And that's obviously had a extremely bad reaction from the Tarkov community.
Yeah.
You still see people kind of like signing up for it or whatever, some people, but I would very much doubt if anyone who was aware of the situation in the Tarkov space would go back with them after what happened last time, which is quite bad. What was quite terrible actually is that when they dropped everybody last time, they actually reached out about other platforms. So I actually ended up getting a request for them for YouTube. Yeah. Oh, wow. Afterwards. And
I wonder if it has anything to do with embeds.
And I said to the agency that brought it to me, I was just like, don't ever bring me anything from Sneak. I'm never going to work with them ever. Like, this is what they did to our community. Like, I just want to make you aware that these guys are actually snakes. So this is the thing. Like, that stuff kind of like gets around. You can't just stop everybody and expect to not have an impact on your reputation. It's crazy. But yeah, they've come crawling back to the live stream space.
That's so fun.
Heaven forbid that anybody like tries to. Oh god, it's just gonna be bad if anybody does actually go back with them. I hope they don't, but I implore you, don't support them. Don't support that company. They're not good for the space. They really aren't. I think actually they did this announcement. Lots of people kind of like quote tweeting it and like, so some people posted actually on the announcement itself. Some people quote tweeted it, and Tweak just quote tweeted it. Just said fuck off, because I think he was maybe one of the people who was sponsored previously. So there's a lot of very strong responses about them, which I think were valid actually. So if they try to sneak their way back into the Tarkov community, don't let them. Keep them out. Toxic snakes. Just trying to work off the back of other people, and it's like not even a paid thing anymore. So it's now just like all affiliate code.
It's even worse.
If you get to level 2 Sneak ambassador or whatever, you're allowed to use their company's name in your Twitter bio.
Dude,
like it's such a like fake kind of like here's your verification as a human being. We deem you worthy. You're now allowed to use the Sneak name. Like it's so awful and it's so predatory. Like it's more predatory now than it was before. Like previously it was like kind of okay and people liked the product, so it was kind of fine. And then they dropped everyone, and now it's like this new program is just so bad. It's so bad. So yeah, I just want to make sure that people are aware that their name is in the bin. Do not trust them.
Yeah, because I know I've seen Hayes rep them for a long time, and I saw that he tweeted about it. Which he said he respected the people working there. I had contact with during my 3-year partnership, but it seems like the management doesn't like paying creators for the time, especially in the live streaming space. And then One Peg tweet about it. Same type of vibes here, but yeah, it's just I can't believe they came back. They're like, hey, how's it going? Remember us? I'm like, don't you want to come? Give us your money. Like you get a shiny Sneak logo on your stream. Whoa. Just, I don't know, dude. I mean, yeah. It's like you're working at some like burger joint and then, your boss comes up and he's like, I'm going to upgrade you to head burger flipper. And, you're going to take on more responsibilities. And one of your biggest responsibilities is repping the shiny golden label of your name tag that says Master Burger Flip. It's just like, it's...
Oh, and you're not going to be paid anymore. You're just going to be paid commission for the burgers you sell.
Yeah, we'll give you like a half a pence on each burger you sell.
What was even funnier is just before they relaunched this like new Sneak Legion thing, which is what the program's called, they put a tweet up saying, "What's your worst restart the whole game because I messed up moment?" And Garland replied to it saying, "When Sneak dropped all their creators without any notice and then tried to restart the program like nothing happened, clown face."
Oh man, dude, I just can't believe they came back. Like, someone was saying, I saw someone commented like, I guess they realized Jim Bros doesn't like their product or something. I don't know. It's just so funny to me that they like someone, some executive or someone at the top was like, this live stream it ain't working, let's drop it. And then, they like, oh shit, guys, we messed up. Our numbers are down. Like, what were we thinking? And now they're coming back and they're like trying to swindle. It's just it's gross, man. It's really gross.
It's really bad. So bad. Oh dear me. What a lot of not really related to Tarkov stuff going on, eh?
I mean, but to be fair, I've seen a ton of people. I think Garland.
Yeah.
Oh no, not who was the other guy? Oh man, I can't remember his name. But anyways, I've seen. I feel like more on the UK side, but maybe I'm just.
I think it's because Sneaker UK. So there was
because Dan was with C.
Hayes, friendly guy, like loads of people.
Yeah, and it's there's a lot of people in the space, specifically Tarkov. So
yeah, they basically owned Tarkov like mid-tier live streaming at one point, which is why I think it's kind of relevant.
Yeah, because I can't think of any Tarkov G Fuel streamer. I'm sure there's someone out there, but I can't.
Is G Fuel? I think Landmark is G Fuel. I think Batty is G Fuel.
Ash is variety now. So
yeah, that's true.
He's transcended.
I don't know if they still are, but
Landmark. Landmark's.
I think Landmark's G Fuel. Yeah. At least he's done some stuff with them.
Yeah. Okay. Next on the docket, I want to talk about this Hyenas game.
Okay.
So, let me pull up the master doc, dude. I wrote a really long. I took many notes because, for those unaware, which I as many, there was this game in development called Hyenas by. It was published by Sega. The dev team was Creative Assembly, and I saw this. I was like, "What? It's an attraction shooter that's getting canceled." I was like, I've not heard about this. Was it any good? So I had to look into it. So I did some digging. So Creative Assembly, they were founded in 1987. Okay, and back then they were porting games from the Amiga to the MS-DOS. So we're talking like old school, legacy here. Eventually they got to do some like low risk sports games working with EA, and it was like cricket, like 1989, like some very like non-mainstream stuff. And then with that, they allowed to get some backing from EA, and then they got their first big break with their own IP, Shogun Total War, and basically spawned the Total War series. Now, I've not really I think I've heard of Total War, but I've never played it. But it's like a time period, strategical, turn-based, sometimes real-time strategy game. Sometimes even action. They've done some they've done a lot of different variations of it, but nonetheless, so they broke away from EA and they wanted to make some, follow-up games with Total War series, but they wanted to get away from EA, which good move by them. they knew what was up way back then. So notably, Rome Total War came out in 2005 and was one of the top 10 best-selling games of that era. It was up there with games like Doom 3, Call of Duty, and I'm pretty sure that's Call of Duty 1, like old Call of Duty. So it was really good for them. And then Sega acquired them in 2005. And Sega wanted to strengthen their European presence in the European and North America video game markets. So Sega got the publishing rights from EA for Rome, and then from there they came up with strategy to do like expansion packs for the games and also branch out to the console market because pretty much the Creative Assembly Studio, they only did PC titles. And then from 2005 2014, it was like kind of a rough period for them with like under this new leadership, if you will, from Sega. Bit of a mixed success. 2009's Empire Total War was a new game engine, and they redesigned the approach to the series, which they did a mix of turn-based and RTS gameplay. So twice the amount of units of both Rome Total War and Medieval 2 Total War. Despite the success and praises, though, the game was criticized for bugs, poor AI, and real-time strategy, naval battles being too difficult, and clunky controls associated with that. And that basically caused the gamers to really question this new Sega influence, speculation that they may have had some, negative impacts on the company. Or development team, I should say. 2011 rolls by and they decide, okay, we're gonna try to make ourselves more brand aware to people. So they took, instead of doing like the era and then Total War, they swapped it around to Total War era. So they came out with Total War Shogun 2. And there's various other titles they came out with, iterations and whatnots during that time period, all the way up to 2014, which Alien Isolation was the game that they developed. So they started out with a proof of concept of a small team of 6 people, and where one player would control the alien manually while another would conceal themselves in an environment and try to hide from the creature. Sega saw it, they liked it, they greenlit the project, but the team didn't really have any experience with this type of genre, survival horror games. So they figured they needed to get some talent. So they hired a bunch of people from different studios, a lot, namely Ubisoft and Crytek. And yeah, the game came out. It was a great success. It got many accolades. I mean, I remember hearing about it. It was like a big deal. There was some critiques, but generally it was like good reviews all around. And then following up 2017, they released Halo Wars 2, which again, positive reviews there. Various Total War titles came out during this period. The most recent one being 2022's Total War Warhammers, where they got a partnership with the Warhammer franchise. And so this period from like 2014, 2002 was generally positive. Okay, so now we're caught up on the history of the development team and the company, if you will. So now we're in June 2022. Hyenas was announced. Okay, closed beta testing. And oh shoot, I had some footage I was gonna play, which I'll set that up real quick because I forgot I had to restart my PC because I thought with the Discord going down, I was like, oh no, I probably should restart my PC, and then we figured out it wasn't that. That
yes,
wasn't
hopefully
the issue.
audio listeners later on won't see any difference really. But yeah, we're on Skype today because Discord went down. We can't actually get on our PCs because of Cloudflare and some problem.
Yeah. So now I got some B-roll playing of the game. Back to my notes here. Right, June 2022, Hyenas was announced for closed beta or closed alpha test, excuse me. And I'll read you the Steam description. So, Hyenas is a hero-based multiplayer extraction shooter where you play as misfit anti-heroes competing against other squads and security forces to steal valuable merch with epic zero-G combat.
Sounds exciting.
Sounds exciting. And wait, sorry, I was trying to multitask. I lost my place. Okay, another description I found of the game setting. Okay, set in a dystopian near future, players were to take control of a space pirate known as a hyena and compete in teams of 3 to raid heavily guarded plunder ships. All right. So there was a couple articles that came out during this time period, like following, I guess it was like a month or two after. Ed Thorne of Rock Paper Shotgun said it earned the title of most confusing overall experience, which is not something you really want if you're trying to branch out to this market, right? So he goes on to say that the tone was outgoing and, quote, made my lips purse with cringe.
Oh, no.
So he mentions in the article that the looting or the loot is like Sega's past pop culture relics, such as a large Sonic statue, which like just sounds so weird and wonky to me. Like Sega as like a brand is like, I'm more familiar with like Sonic, right? Like the old school days, you know what I mean? Sega Genesis, but like modern days Sega just like, huh? You know, so I don't know. But he goes on to say it presents itself edgy as games like Rage 2, which if you just do a quick Google search of Rage 2, it's just like pink mohawk, you know, dystopian sand. What's that one movie?
What, like Mad Max?
Yes, Mad Max, but it's like mohawk pink, you know, it's just like, it's like trying to be way too edgy, you know, it's like 16-year-olds version of edgy. I don't know. So he concluded that the title had him curious but concerned, explaining that the live service free-to-play market being so competitive and his criticism of the game's tone. I should add, like, at the time, it wasn't really certain how this monetization model was going to work.
When was this exactly? So was it only closed beta for like press or something?
Yes. Well, I don't think it was for press, but he got access to it. He might have got like a press, you know, kit or whatever, an invitation. Because this came out in like, I pull up the article here. This came out in, what was it? 2000. It was like, so the closed beta happened in June 2022. And then this article came out in August 30th, 2022. But continuing on here, so, you know, overall, not a good first impression, right? It was like me skimming through this article. It just looked, you know, and like there's a few screenshots in here. It, you know, the whole like edgy, plus you got like Sonic statues and like what like I can't even think of any other like Sega, you know, IPs that would be in here. But it just sounds really weird, right? So, fast forward a year. Eurogamer published an article that included a public transcript between investors and Sega. The company said that Hyenas has been a challenging title and making final adjustments to the business model. Okay. This was like a transcript between investors and Sega that was just like publicly released, I guess. So Eurogamer reached out for comment. And well, let me add for context. Sega previously said that Hyenas will not be a free-to-play game. But
oh right,
you know, continuing out for they were gonna do like I guess some type of like maybe a Tarkov-esque model, but probably like a flat, you know, maybe a hybrid, like a flat fee plus microtransactions like skins. Who knows? But so the year ago comments, they reached out for comments and about the adjustments that they're trying to make. And the Sega spokesperson replied, "We have dedicated the past year to reviewing our business model alongside months of extremely valuable player testing of the gameplay experience. People speculate a free-to-play model, but, you know, no longer quote here, but people were speculating like a free-to-play model, but the future of the monetization model was like up in the air." So days later after this article, again, we're in 2023, you know, current year, Ed Thorne comes out with another article back from Rock Paper Shotgun where he reviews the game yet again, and he said this time around he's come away pleasantly surprised, and he also says it might have been might have had more of a chance at launch surviving than I thought. Sorry, the reading here, my reading skills are kind of tripping me up. The game's second closed beta ran from August 31st till September 11th. Its development was halted by Sega on the 28th, along with multiple other unannounced games due to lower profitability of the European region. End quote. So
it's not just this game, actually. That's actually interesting.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what other stuff they had cooking, but it seemed like it was their way of trying to like expand their market reach, I guess. And then just like it just wasn't really fizzling. The kids ain't biting it, which I mean, like, again, looking at it, like, it just looks like the whole hero shooter being mixed into the extraction stuff. I mean, like, maybe I'd have to agree with his first article, like the tone of it, like the looks of it. It just screams cringe, man. It just looks so cringy. It's just I can't see myself looting a Sonic statue and like taking myself seriously. You know what I mean? It's just like
it sounds like a 1998 webpage in game form.
Yeah.
So but the most bizarre part about it is it's like I literally haven't heard about this game. This is the thing. Like,
no, same.
You did a terrible job with marketing, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's actually a lot of YouTube content on it from like people doing gameplay, whatever. Because I guess they got permission to record and share their thoughts and whatnot. But I mean, looking at it, I just don't know, man. It's trying to do the whole PvE looter shooter extraction thing with like heroes and abilities and like maybe there's potential, but I just think the big draw, like the flaw here, is definitely just the presentation and art style. It's just like, man, whoever decided, I still can't get over the Sonic looting statue. I'm sorry, it's just like so bewildering to me. You know what I mean?
Got to collect them all. Knuckles.
I just don't know if I can get tense with Sonic statues in my butt. I just don't know, dude. I don't know if I can be tense enough for that.
If we did intros to the ScavTalk, that would be the intro to this ScavTalk. Yeah, I don't know. It's just weird because normally with these things you hear about them beforehand and then they build up and then if something happens then whatever. But it's just strange. This one, the first thing that most people have seen about this game is that it's now not coming.
Yeah. It's. I mean, someone was talking. I think Waffle Bandit on Twitter was talking about this. There's like all these. I mean, there's a fair amount of different people attempting let's say the extraction shooter genre. Of course, we had the cycle that went on for a couple of years, ultimately closed. Dark and Darker seems to be doing okay, but the big question mark there is like the legal stuff, which I think is still kind of tied up in a couple different courts here. But they're kind of like going on, which not to get too sidetracked, but there's I think Dark and Darker is like a good contender, but it's like different enough. This is the thing. It's like I feel like they iterated on something, whereas like the cycle, I would say, is like more closer to a copy. I mean, they changed a few things, but I don't feel like they really like brought anything new to the table. Whereas like Dark and Darker, I feel like they're bringing something new to the table. Not just like the obvious, like, oh, it's swords instead of guns, but like the actual extracting process is different. I guess like the fact that your character, I mean, I guess you have stats in Tarkov, but like you have abilities, like, I don't know, maybe I'm picking and choosing here, but cherry picking. But anyways, I think it's got enough to stand on, distinguish enough, and clearly there's enough interest in it, so much so that there's Dark and Darker clones out on Steam now. Giga.
I did hear about this actually. I think I saw somebody talking about it. Maybe it was Clean or someone talking about.
Yeah, I think Clean talked about it.
I can't remember what its name is even.
Yeah, I think one is there's multiple of them, but one is called Greed is Good, which is like, oh my god, dude, such a like lowbrow title. Like, could you be any more less creative? That's just me, but it's just dude. To me, that just sounds like zero creativity.
Come play our new extraction shooter. It's called Loot Until You're Sick.
Yeah. It's anyways that one, dude. It's like such a direct 1-to-1 copy. Like the UI looks the same. Like just everything looks the same. And like this is the thing
Yeah.
too, is like they didn't really iterate on anything, but they did do some quality of life stuff. But I don't really consider that fundamentally iteration to like the design, right?
That's a bit like Lost Light, right? It's like, it's basically Tarkov, but there's some quality of life stuff. It's not enough. It's not different enough to sort of spark its own revelation or whatever, but it's like it's good to play.
To be fair, there is some iteration. I mean, they got the armor plates, the vaulting.
They're just a Lost Light enjoyer,
okay.
though. So,
the guns now have perks. I'm just saying, dude. Yeah, I was playing. Dude, it's so funny because I was playing and like, I didn't run into a single. I played like 2 rounds, and like, it's like, dude, I'm just like playing Tarkov as if I'm going through the motions. Like, I still do other Tarkov things. I shoot the AI, I loot the loot, I min max, I, sell stuff on the flea market. Organize a stash. It's just a different skin. Anyways, yeah. As far as like AAA studios go, back on topic. The only one for me is like Bungie, but that's just like a big question mark. I don't really know what Bungie is like, modern day Bungie.
Who knows when it's even coming? I mean, Marathon is such a long way away. It's still very early stage, right? Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? So the only other one is DMZ, but I know like the only person that I know that really plays DMZ is Geeks, and I've seen because he transitioned away from Tarkov to play DMZ, and he changed his content to DMZ. And I've seen some posts, like everything I know about DMZ these days is based on his posts on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
Pretty much. And he has basically said that they've actually like made the game quite good. There seems to be lots of different additions in there that I wasn't really aware of, like different types of armor and stuff that you can have, and some fun things like that. Like I'm not an expert by any means, but I've seen him speculating a bunch about other people speculating that DMZ is going to get dropped with like COD 3. And that they're not going to continue on the game mode potentially.
Like drop it, like gotcha.
Yeah, as in like just retire the game mode or something. That like it was okay for this iteration of Call of Duty, but like in the next one, like with Warzone 2, and then with the next whatever the next iteration is going to be, that they may not have it then. Like nobody knows for sure, but if they do, then that'll be another one down the drain, and that'll be sad actually because like even though I don't really play DMZ, I know lots of people actually quite like it, and it probably is the next best like closest thing to Tarkov. I know it's like it's nothing really like it in a looting sense or anything, but the actual like in-raid gameplay is somewhat like similar. It's closer than Darker Darker.
It has the visuals of similarities of Tarkov,
Yeah. It doesn't have the depth in terms of like the meta game, but yeah, I mean, it seems like it seems decent at least, and the people do like it. But I think that's the thing about Darker Darker. It's like different swords and shields and magic. It's a different demographic. Like some people just like the gun stuff. And,
for sure.
So we'll bring in people who don't like to just do FPS or whatever. I think the FPS genre is quite frightening for people who don't really play FPS a lot because it's so skill orientated. There's not really any two ways about it. Like, yeah, there's strategy and tactics or whatever, but like if you're not good at shooting the guns, you're just going to lose.
Most of the times, yeah.
Whereas something like Darker Darker, I feel like maybe it's a bit more like, yeah, there's the skill with the sword stuff, but it's less, trying to hit a headshot with like pixel perfect. Like it's much more sort of forgiving, and it's more about like timing, swings, magic, cover, like that kind of stuff. It's just a different skill set.
It's still like in the FPS family, but you're right. There's like a different,
like it's first.
It's like
person,
similar skills, but different at the same time. I agree.
Exactly. Like it deprioritizes the like click the pixel and reprioritizes some other stuff. I just think it's less frightening, and some people just prefer that look, that aesthetic. Aesthetics has a lot to do with games, Gameplay is most of it, but some people like certain aesthetics. Some people wouldn't play BattleBit because of the way it looked, even though the gameplay is great. Like graphics not always everything, but sometimes it can make or break it for different people. But Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I'm sad to see other people trying the genre and it not working. I think it's just Tarkov's just a weird beast. It's just got this depth of. I think even I've talked about it previously, but even Drewski posted at one point just being like, don't underestimate the depth of development that's gone on in EFT. There's such a huge hurdle for people to climb to get to anywhere the same level. Like, yeah, we've got problems, and there's issues with the economy and blah blah blah, but it's in a certain state after years and some luck, and it's where it is now, and it's got this sort of like weight behind it, which is kind of hard to come against. Like if you're trying to reinvent the wheel and do something new, you still got to put years of development into your own version. It's like what Dark and Darker is going to be like. Dark and Darker couldn't stay the way that it was when I played it, for example, because that would get really boring really quick. So they've got to iterate themselves and add more maps and add more mechanics and add more classes and add more weapons and ways to sell gear and your inventory, and who knows. So they got to do all that, and it's intimidating for a new entrant. Speaking of, I don't know whether you've got any more to say about other extraction shooters. I was going to talk about some Tarkov progression stuff. It feels like I had a good time.
Go for it.
So, yeah, it's just like I reminded myself by talking about, all the different systems and the ways to play EFT. And I do feel, actually, this wipe, maybe we've crossed some kind of threshold, at least for me, where we've been trying out different things each time. Certain parts of the game have kind of been locked off. And I actually think it's sort of gotten to an okay point. Some people will probably disagree with me, but my personal opinion on it is that it's actually kind of cool where we've ended up in a sort of progression sense. Partly because it was so much quicker this wipe, so you can get access to the basic toolkit that you need to compete with other players relatively quickly. A lot of the good stuff has come back to Peacekeeper 2, for example, like level 15, 16. Like it's kind of accessible for most people to get there. So you can run 5.6A1. Like, yeah, you're going to, if in a fair fight you'll lose against someone with class 5, they've got a bit of a head up on you. But, you can still take out most people consistently, and you've got 50-50 on headshots and stuff at close range. Like it's decent. It's not like you're stuck with shotguns with no attachments or iron sight M4s for
yeah.
So there's that, which is nice. But then I'm now sort of in this like funny spot where people keep asking me if I'm going for Kappa. I'm like, I'm not really going for Kappa, not really, but I am actually collecting the items, because I think if there was any wipe to just try and like push through and do it, I'm not really putting in any extra time now. But I think because of some of the quest changes, I think maybe it's like feasible. I think did they remove the level requirement? I think they did, if I remember correctly. I think the Kappa level requirement is gone. And like Shootable in Heaven, you can do that later. Like you don't need to do it straight away. Obviously, it probably gets a little harder if you do it later on. But you can still access good ammo in like one, and you have to get a headshot right with a bolty. So you have to get 5 headshots on each map with a bolt action. You're not got any range limit anymore. I feel like it takes less time if you just grind it. Yes, it probably has a obnoxious impact upon your survival rate, but that doesn't really matter. If you just want to get Kappa, you could probably do it quicker than you were able to previously, I would say. So there's that, right, as its own goal. But we've still got the Lightkeeper that you can go and push towards, which ends up being important for the end of wipe quest last wipe. Like you basically got a little shortcut through for the 2 lines of stash thing. If you had Lightkeeper already, there were 2 of the quests you didn't have to do, because there was like a little makeup quest to get to Lightkeeper real quick so that you could complete it.
Yeah.
So you're sort of incentivized based on prior history to go for Lightkeeper. If you don't want to go for Kappa, so that's kind of what I'm focusing on first. But outside of that too,
is Lightkeeper task tied to Kappa? Because I thought it was previously. Is it not anymore?
I don't think so. Well, as in like Lightkeeper's tasks, like you have to do them.
Yeah, you have to do them.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure where you have to go to. I don't think some of the late game ones are. Maybe I'm wrong, actually. To be honest, I haven't really looked. But we'll have a look. If I do, I'm just going to look one up while we're talking about other stuff, just to see. But I mean, Lightkeeper's a little easier to get to than yeah. So key to the tower, like I don't know whether there's a late game one that you need to do. I don't think there is. Do you have to do getting acquainted? No. Top secret? No. I don't think there is. Like some of the requirements beforehand obviously are required, right? Like you'll need to do those. And they're like, get to Punisher Part 5 and stuff. So those things sort of overlap. But I don't think, based on the wiki, like none of the actual quest line for Lightkeeper is required for Kappa.
Okay.
And that's all the way through back to like key to the tower. Assessment Part 3 isn't required. Assessment 2 isn't. Neither is 1. Network Provider 2, nope. Yeah, okay. So none of the quest line is required. So you can go and get like people like what I did last time is I just unlocked him and that was it. I didn't bother doing any of his quests because I didn't really want anything down his quest line in particular.
Oh, okay.
But I just unlocked the guy, so you can then go to Lighthouse Island if you want to. And if something appeared, then you could go and do it. I just didn't think it was important to do the actual quest. But from there, you can then decide to go and do Kappa. But if you don't want to do that, like you can go and do other things now, right? So, and if you don't want to do Lightkeeper either, then you can like try for different things because of the way they put stuff behind different quests that are not necessarily that easy, or different progression points that are not necessarily that easy. You can push for those as well. So if you want to go for BP, you just have to get to level 45 pretty much. So you should like focus on farming XP.
Well,
if you want to craft M61, you have to go and complete Shootable in Heaven.
What's the quest for 45?
It's really easy, right? It's, you get a quest called Intimidator at level 45, and it's
it's just like killing scavs.
Yeah, it's like scav headshots or something on any map. Yeah, so like it's really not. It's a small speed bump, and then you get BP. But it's the fact that the quest itself is locked at level 45 that's the real hurdle. You have to get there to do that. So yeah, you might want to just like push to 45 by getting a ton of XP and like focusing on XP.
But you're saying
BP.
Sorry, I keep cutting you off, but to clarify, you're saying that you don't. It's not even that quest itself is the only requirement is 45. There's no like follow up or like prior quests.
I think it's Punisher 6. I think it's the previous quest. Okay, so it's like not too bad, right? If you want BP, you could just finish Punisher, then go on push for XP, and then get. And level 45 is, if you were like focusing solely on XP, it's probably achievable for like most people. I would say. I mean, it's high. It's like high level, and some people won't get there for sure. Yeah. But if you want BP, you could like push for that and push for XP and look for ways to get XP over anything else, like reroll your dailies and all that kind of stuff to try and get as much XP as possible. But if you don't use those guns and you want to use M61 instead, then you have to go and do the bolty headshots thing instead for Shootable in Heaven. So I almost feel like it's a bit more branched. It's like you get to kind of like level 3 traders, and then it's like, okay, what do you want? What do you want to do now? Like, do you want M61? Well, you could go and do Shootable. Do you want BP? Okay, well, you should focus on getting to 45. Do you want to do Lightkeeper? That's easier than going for Kappa. Kappa doesn't really get you anything, but Lightkeeper means you can basically get infinite money from the island. So there's a few different things you could do at the end, and you're sort of like selecting it based upon like what you want,
what you prioritize, or what you value. Yeah,
which I think is nice. Cool. We've ended up in this point, and it will be even better once Lightkeeper actually means something more. But I don't actually think it's necessarily too bad to have it set like that, like a bit more self-directed.
Oh yeah.
Now this isn't to say that I think BP is good to be only locked behind level 45. That's a whole other conversation.
Yes.
BP ammo. I still think the craft should exist, but like M61 being locked behind the craft is kind of intriguing. Like I'm half tempted to try and do Shootable in Heaven now, just because of the way that it's built. I feel like it would be kind of cool. I sort of want to do like I either go like VPO unsuppressed APM and like just headshot people in a CQB, or go for like a really lightweight M700 and be using like M62 and hit people in the head with a hollow. I feel like it'd be kind of cool.
I've thought about it, like how I would do it, and like there's like kind of like as you were describing, two schools of thought. One is you just throw yourself at the quest. You're like naked, running around for VPO, a red dot, maybe irons, whatever, and you're just trying to get those close quarters headshots. The other one's like more traditional, where you set up sniping positions. But like now that there's not a range requirement, I feel like for me, I would be more inclined to do the sniping stuff, because I don't have to like mess about with, is he too far? Is he too close? Is he not far away enough? It's like there's been so many times where it's like, I see a guy, and then it's like, I know this is like back when there wasn't a range fire, but like I know the distance from here is not. I'll be like making my way towards like weather station, let's say. Or no, not weather station, power station on Shoreline, or like in the middle map. And maybe I'm making my way down from like the resort, and like I'm halfway there, and I see the guy, like he's running in there, going inside. I'm like, oh my god, I have to like run back up here, get in position, sit and wait. Like I can't, like I have a perfect shot now. He's like sitting there at the door, but it's so frustrating. So that's how I would do it, but I could totally, I don't know. I just feel like not many people are going to do the whole close range combat type of stuff. I mean, I've seen a lot of people suggesting always carrying a secondary.
Like a VPO secondary, maybe at all
Yeah,
times.
but like even then, well, like I assume a one times, but like even then, it's just like I guess she could do it with either or, but I just don't see it that like engaging or fun to like throw yourself at it because you get it's like reminder it went from 3 to 5, so like that's a lot to just sit there and grind, throwing yourself, going to like dorms with like a VPN. Like it just doesn't really sound like my definition of fun.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I'm intrigued. I'm probably going to get really frustrated by it. Like, I can't imagine myself taking. Yeah, if you're doing it at long range, like maybe taking it as secondary, or maybe you just like run a constant like MP7
Well, yeah.
slash M700 or something. You just go for some
To
hybrid
do
every raid.
that, I
That
mean,
would work.
to me, it's more like I actually enjoyed Shooterborn in the past, despite the aspect that I didn't enjoy, which was the range requirement because it was so tedious and finicky. But I actually enjoyed the process of like finding a sniper nest and like waiting and get finding an unsuspected victim, trying to get the perfect shot, the calculate the Coriolis effect, the bullet drop. It was I mean, I felt very very immersed. It was enjoyable for me. So I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
I think like
that's what I
for me-
like. That's what I would do is I would set out to do that and grind it that way.
Yeah. I just think for me, like I've never liked doing it that way because I always just feel like my time is so limited. I think that's the problem I've always had with sniping in general in the game. It's
That's
just like you're just
true.
waiting for people. And I just feel like I'm always just like I'm in this like vast pressure chamber of time. I'm just like,
Yeah,
oh man,
yeah,
like I have
that's
to do
fair.
this like right now. Like I always feel like I think I've basically just felt like this for the last like 10 years of my life and I'm just used to it. I'm just like time poor at all times. And like, obviously certain life choices, 2 children, has like not helped with this particular conundrum of mine. But that just means that any time that I'm like sitting there for over approximately 3.5 seconds in one place, I'm just like,
it does feel kind of bad.
drum on the
Right.
desk, drum on the desk. Where are they? Where are the people? Where are the people? Where are the people? Like, I'm not a particularly sort of like ADHD kind of person, really.
Mhm.
But when I'm sat there thinking like, oh, I think it's like it's all tied together. It's like I don't stream very much. The clips that I do get, they go in the vids, right? So like the things that I want to put in my YouTube videos tend to be the things that have gone in my streams. But then because I don't stream that much, because I'm doing other stuff as well outside in IRL, then it's like I got to get the stuff done on the streams because otherwise there's nothing to put in the vids. And it's like it's all like circular, it's all like self fulfilling. And so I end up with these issues. But I feel like playing point blank VPO or whatever, basically doing Tarkov Shooter Part 3.
Right.
and a half.
Yeah.
On every map.
Right.
Could be kind of fun if you pick your spots and like get into it or whatever.
Really? Okay.
I feel like it could be okay because I love Tarkov Shooter Part 3. Like I just released a video about Tarkov Shooter Part 3, which by the way was not edited by me. It's like one of the second video ever on my channel not edited by me, which is kind of cool to see. So if you haven't seen it, go and watch it, please. Help the algorithm. But it's honestly Tarkov Shooter 3 was great. Like this wipe, I did it all in one raid. So it was just insane. Like all in one raid with the VPO is nuts. Just like unsuppressed VPO, just getting headshots. It was so much fun. Obviously, it's a lot more fun when you're fighting against somebody who isn't running in a fully automatic weapon. There's a lot more fun when somebody else that you're playing against has got a Mosin, I will say.
Yeah.
So I think we'll get quite frustrated by that, but we'll see. I don't know. Like currently, I'm thinking either like stock standard VPO, no scope, just irons
yeah,
with APM inside.
Irons aren't bad.
Just straight for the badoosh, Like, and if we don't get a headshot and we get a thorax kill or whatever, then like, it's fine. I feel like they will die anyway, right? Even if I'm hitting them body shots, like that's fun anyway. Like we're doing the quest and then we're having fun too. I kind of don't mind that. And then take a secondary if we like really get screwed. I'd rather not die. I'd rather like miss the opportunity. It depends actually whether I really want to push it or not. I feel like I'd rather miss the opportunity and like still get the kill and survive the raid and not have to like re-kit than try at all costs to get the headshot and then die a bunch because of that. Like I'm not like that adamant about completing it,
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. But yeah, I mean, like the M700 I loved last. Well, actually, it wasn't even last time. It was like 2 wipes ago, I think, when I did Tarkov Shooter 8 in like that way, and that was when it was back in one raid, and I had like the lightest M700. That was like that worked perfectly because I was like, I'm going to do a video about the lightest gun. Let's do Tarkov Shooter 8, and then like used it and like cleared people out in one raid and got like 3 headshots or three. I think it was 3 kills before. It was just 3 kills in one raid with the lightest M700, and you're just like, like Meldonin on with like infinite arm stam and stuff. Like it was fun. And you can still do that. Like Meldonin doesn't give you the damage reduction. Somebody the other day was just like, "Why are you still using Meldonin? It doesn't give you damage reduction anymore." I was like, "Yeah, the damage reduction was like 10%. Who cares about that? Like, I care about the half a tick of stamina. Like, it makes a big difference over the long run." Anyway, side tangent. But yeah, I'm not really a Balties guy, but maybe we'll talk about it in a little bit. But I was playing a bit of CS yesterday, and that was kind of fun. I sort of reinvigorated my love for a bit of flick shooting. So we'll see.
Can you play do the quest Tarkov Shooter 3 on Factory, or is that a no-go anymore?
Yes,
you
you
still can't? Okay.
I did indeed do it that way. It is by far the easiest way.
Yeah. See, like I kind of like don't like that quest, even though it's just like it's just a grind like any other quest, but it's just it's like annoying because you're doing the quest and then you're it's like, oh, here's the opportunity to do the quest. There's a guy right here, and then he's got like Alton, kill MP7, he just like sprays you down, you don't even get a chance. It's like, that's annoying. That's why I probably don't like doing, I guess, your way. However, I will say doing it the sit and wait game feels like you're not playing the game, even though you are
Sniper Elite 3, right? The guy doesn't even know where you are. Like
right. It's like, you're not looting or just sitting there waiting. Like, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I have I have that same feeling too. But when it does line up, when the stars do align, it is very satisfying.
Yeah, I did. In fairness, actually, just like a random tale. We went to Lighthouse for the first time this wipe, and I just went with an M4 or something. I was trying to complete some tasks. You got to do some annoying tasks on there to do the Lightkeeper, at least to get to him anyway. So the one you have to plant the camera in the drug lab. That's like one of the ones you have to do. And you have to do like there's a bunch of planting stuff that I needed. So I was like on my way to the drug lab. We were like going around the edge of the map, around the hills. So I was like, well, I'm just going to, because I haven't killed any rogues. So I was like, well, I'll just like sneak around that way because they're not going to shoot at me because I've not really been to the map at all. Like sneaking around near the car extract. And like we see a guy. I'm like, oh, okay. Like he disappears behind a tree, but he's like trying to like line up a shot on somebody or something. We tap him out with our M4. Boom. Wander down to the rock. Go have a look at him. The guy's like juiced. He's got like a AK-104 with PP in it and a thermal AXMC.
Oh wow!
Well, I was like, holy, whoa, okay, this guy's like really, really chilling. As we're sort of like halfway through looting him, like footsteps up where I was, and like nades start going off. We're like, oh no, this is going to go terribly now. This is awful. And I've still got my M4, and that's fine. But I'm like, is this guy a cheater or like something? I'm not. I don't really know. Like, I'm kind of scared to peek him. Is he the guy's teammate? Like he might be. Maybe he was somewhere else. I'm not sure. But like I'm stuck kind of behind this like I think like a minibus or something. Just kind of peeking around. Like none of the nades hit us or whatever. But I'm like okay. I'm like try and like get out and peek. And then I can't remember exactly what happened next. I think it was either I ran from there. We run behind another rock. And I'm trying to engage this guy. Oh yeah, that was it. So like I'm like just really stuck. But I'm just gonna go like Propitol and I don't do something else. I can't remember. Like Propitol anyway, and like put on some painkillers. We're gonna jump behind the rock next door. Like take the thing with us. We'll come back later if we need to go and like loot any more stuff, which I ended up not. Like pull out the thermal, and I'm like scoping around, like just little bit by bit, slicing the pie around the rock to try and find him. And there he is, like lying down in the bushes up on top of the looking over the road camp. Just as I'm like lining up the shot, I hear from behind me like the ADS sound, and I'm just like, oh no. So I like crouch down, turn around, but there's like nobody there. I'm just like, there's someone over there. There's definitely someone over there. Like send a VOG over there, like don't really hear anything, and then hear somebody stepping, kill a scav with the M4, and then take out the thermal back again, turn back around, like line the shot up behind the rock, and then stand up and boof, and just like take the shot, see the guy like stand up, take a second shot, and then fire another one just off into the bushes, then turn around and just like sprint down the edge of the rogue building. Like, I have to kill another scav who's on his way to extract. Like go around, plant the drug labs thing, and then go out northern extract. And it was sick. We got out with the thermal and like his bag and everything. And then on the end of the end screen, it was like, yes, we killed the thermal guy. Then the VOG actually killed a scav, and then I killed another scav with the M4. And then we shot the dude on the rocks and did kill him with the AXMC with the thermal on it, which is like, it just felt so good to like take somebody else's like kitted gun and then kill the other guy who's trying to get you. I was like, man, awesome. So it was like one of the best rays I've had in ages. And so yeah, that's my recent Bolty experience. So I've got this like thermal XMC that's now just gonna be burning a hole in my stash. So I have to use that at some point.
I love that.
It was a good one. Like Lighthouse is normally pretty annoying, but that was cool. That was cool. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we'll do some more bolty action stuff. I think like, you know, for headshots, obviously I'm not going to go XMC. There's not really any point doing that because that thing is for thoraxing people. 50-50 chance to kill someone wearing class 5 sounds good to me with FMJ. Pretty strong.
That's pretty good.
Pretty strong.
That's what he had in it, I'm assuming, FMJ. No AP.
FMJ. No Lapur AP, sadly, but it was, yeah. I mean, FMJ is good enough.
It's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, certainly pretty good. So yeah, we shall see. We shall see.
So I guess we'll talk about, just mention briefly, Road to Vostok. Vostok. The developer posted a YouTube video very recently. As you know from the previous ScavTalk series, or if you've been keeping up with the news, Unity was under fire for some of their business decisions, and yeah, rightfully so, if you ask me. But it caused a lot of people to really question, especially indie devs, like, their future on the platform, the engine. And ultimately, he decided, the developer, and again, this is like a one-man guy. I mean, he's got, like I said, he's got a video. I encourage you to check it out. And of course, you haven't seen the project. He's obviously switching engines, and we'll talk about that. But he talks about his history with Unity. I mean, he's been using Unity for, oh man, years. I mean, I almost want to say a decade. I can't say that for certain, but it's quite some time. And he even teaches. I think he's like a teacher or maybe like a professor. But he uses Unity in that. Like, I think he teaches Unity. I'm not really sure the details on it, but that being said, he basically came to the conclusion that as much as he likes the platform and the future is uncertain, and that uncertainty is causing a lot of like shakeup because, it's like you just don't know. It's like, let's take like a more wide Adobe, for example, and a lot of creatives use it, like photo editors, tons of people, wedding photos, etc. And then like one day Adobe's like, yeah, we're gonna do this awful, horrible business decision, and there's nothing you can say about it. Give us more money, and you're just kind of like screwed out, right? What do? There's like, what other alternatives are there? You've built your career off this software for like however long you've been doing this business. Now you have to just like either deal with it or jump ship. So, and it affects the markets as a whole. One example he brought up was like Blender, which I remember back in my day hearing about Blender from like this game I was playing. It was called Return to Castle Wolfenstein, and I was playing a mod for it, which was a total conversion mod, which took the like the whole gameplay, the whole aesthetic World War II and Allies versus Axis, and turned it into like Counter-Strike, Call of Duty, Bomb Defuse thing. It's called True Combat Elite, and I sunk so many hours in that mod. But within that mod, there was a sub mod that was like aiming to mod the game yet again to like include all these like World War II elements, like bring it back to like its original thing. It's just kind of funny. But the developer of that was using, I think I had like, somehow like maybe met him through like TeamSpeak or Ventroller or something. But I really liked the project because I really liked that era. The nerd in me, the history nerd. But so he was like using Blender to make these models for like the M1 Grand and stuff, and like, he was like, oh, if you want to help out, you could look into it. And I looked into it. I was like, oh my god, this is like way over my head. But I remember being exposed to that I mean, that was like, man, like 10 plus years ago. Like that was quite some time. And it's now Blender is like basically an industry standard. I mean, I think like there might be one other application that's somewhat similar in terms of like popularity. Like I think maybe Maya. I'm not even sure about that.
I don't know.
Nonetheless, the thing about Blender is it's open source and it's been like that since its inception, and it's just continuously built upon. Like people invest into it, not only just from like them using the software, but third party apps, improving features of it. It's just kind of like a win-win. Um, and it spawns jobs for like people teaching it. I mean, it's kind of a really good thing all around. At least that's how I feel about open source stuff. So he makes that analogy, and that's kind of where the game engine discussion comes in. There's this other game engine called Godot, I think. Is it Godot? Am I saying that right?
I've never heard anybody say it, so I've only ever read it. So I assume it's Godot.
Is it? Okay. Yeah, I just wasn't sure if it was like called something else, but
Godot.
Yeah. Nonetheless, it's an open source engine, and again, this is like since the Unity debacle, we'll say, came out. That was the first time I was hearing about it, and yeah, it's honestly pretty based off his story. The developer for this Road to Vostok game, I'm like genuinely surprised he's making the switch, because he lays out in his own video how much work it is going to be for him to port everything over. It's not copy pasting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, at least I don't think you can do that with you. Maybe some stuff you can do that with, but and nonetheless, I mean, it's a new language as well. Like I think this is C++, whereas Unity is like C#. So it's a huge, and this isn't like, maybe it's easier for an indie guy, so we can't, maybe I'm making a wrong comparison here, but to me it's like a huge thing to take on. And within his window of like his timeline of his project, I mean, he's still kind of like in the pre-production stage, if you will. So he had these initial plans to release this 2.0 demo coming out, I think in like the following months, like maybe October. But now he's going to have to delay that a bit to get it working. And he already did like some, basic inputs, or basic legwork to sort of like get a test environment and, kind of like play around the engine, port a few assets and different things in. And, he's got footage of it. It looks fine. So pretty big move, I would say. I'm like very curious now to see the future of this engine. I mean, I don't know. I follow a fair, like, I shouldn't say fair. I follow some indie devs. I try to keep up with like indie developers and indie games because I think they're really cool. Like, I mean, Tarkov itself, we could argue is kind of like indie. It has like indie roots at the very least. And Tarkov is just like, there's no other game like it. No one's been able to recreate the sauce. I mean, they've tried, but they just overcooked it.
There's a certain amount of spaghetti required for Tarkov. You can't just make a new clean game like Tarkov. It wouldn't be the same without the spaghetti. You can't have spaghetti without sauce. There you go.
That's
as far as the analogy goes.
That is a great analogy. And I mean, despite the criticisms levied at Tarkov, I still wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, I still think BSG is such a I give them so much crap, but I still think they're like such a fascinating company and dev team, really. Just the things they do is just like, we're going to completely overhaul these animations and add in new ones for loading in a single round, and it's like, no one asked for this. It's like, yes, we are. It's like, okay,
we're gonna do it anyway. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, who knows? Like, could you imagine if like Tarkov in the early days of conception, someone was like, what if we did a battle royale? You know, and they're like, yeah, battle royales are popular. Let's do that. Like, could you imagine the different timeline we could be in right now? Like, I don't, you know, no. Well, okay. I was gonna say no flack to battle royales, but you know, that's a lie. I don't like battle royales. Man. They're like fun for like a minute. They're not for me. But I wouldn't have Tarkov any other way. As far as like how it's still in development, but how they like executed on their unique design philosophy.
Yeah. I played my fair share of PUBG, as people are aware, and it was good.
Mhm.
You know, played it for a good couple of years. It was great, but then these things, they run their course, you know?
Yeah,
Just
like
the
PUBG was
format is running
big
course.
too back
Was
in
big.
the day. It was really big.
Mm-hmm.
It was all the rave.
Yep.
Which I mean, funny enough, like that's probably about the time, like 2013, 2014-ish. PUBG in its heyday, maybe I don't know. Maybe it's more like 2016. Anyways, yeah. For those that don't know, Project Road to Vostok is essentially a Tarkov-esque aesthetic in a single player game. You know, it's a bit like Stalker, but not really. A little bit more on the Tarkov side. It's a survival. I played the demo. It's something I'm interested in seeing where it goes. And you know, if you're really intrigued, I saw he's got some different Patreon tiers you can subscribe to like get early builds and like get a little behind the scenes and, you know, play tests and stuff, which I think is really cool. I really like the indie scene, man. There's so many cool games. I mean, one game that I've been dying to talk about that I'll just briefly mention is Out of Action. And Out of Action is, again, one man show here. The developer's called Dooku, I think I'm saying that right. And he's been showing off, like I say, like showing off, like advertising through social media a lot, which a lot of these indies really just rely on. And the game is like super interesting. It's like I'm pretty interested in it, but essentially, right? I think he's got some prior experience in, yeah. So 20 years in the industry. Like he's a developer. I can't remember the exact stuff he's worked on. But nonetheless, the game itself is just like kind of this first person. It's got like a little bit of someone said like a little bit of a Mirror Edge aesthetic, but like really grimy and cyberpunky in a way. A little bit of Half-Life, like the enemies variants look kind of like Half-Life-y, like the Combine. But he describes the game as sort of like this reimagination of some of his favorite mods from Half-Life 1 from like way back in the day. Like I think one was called like Special Ops or Special, I can't remember the name. But it's kind of like this like create a class system. I mean, again, this is like way before Call of Duty. I mean, it was like, you know, abilities and perks, and you would like unlock them more as the match progressed, and you know, there's like all these cool builds you could do, and there's a lot of really cool stuff. I mean, there's one of the big mechanics is slow motion, where you can like enter slow-mo, and it affects the area you are looking, like the cone you're looking towards.
Right.
So, because I guess that's how he had to develop it for multiplayer, because it's in a multiplayer environment. So like you playing against other players, they can like activate slow-mo, and you're like, now if you're looking at each other, like you're both like you're both in slow-mo. So like you kind of like play around that. There's just like some really crazy stuff, like airbus bullets, like just some really wild wonky stuff. You could like build like some type of like minigun character. Like it looks so like it's just so, you know what I mean? Like out of pocket. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like so unique, and I'm really hyped for it. It's coming out the end of 2024, so it's quite a ways, but yeah, check it out. Wishlist it on Steam. And I just love indie games, man.
That's cool. That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
We'll have to look for that and see if it's any good. But you're kind of like my tester for some things. You know, you play like lots of different things. I usually don't get time. The one thing I did get time to do last night was I managed to play a bit of Counter-Strike 2. I've not been following up on I'm really not hot on CS2 about like what's been going on with it, whatever. To the point at which like all of my IRL friends basically managed to witness my thought process unravel in real time in our Discord channel last night, where I was just like, somebody was like, "Oh, we should play CS2 together tonight if people are free," and I was just like, "Oh, okay." And I like went navigate to the page. I was like, "I'll go download it," and then I basically sent a screenshot at Discord, just being like, "It says I've got 61 hours in CS2. I don't understand. Like, how is this possible? Like, I didn't play the pre-order or anything like this." And then my next message is in there, just like, "Hold on, where's CS:GO gone?" And then I'm just like, "Wait up, they deleted CS:GO and overlaid it with CS2. Oh,
No
I see.
way.
I see what they've done. It's basically like a big patch, which sort of makes sense. Like for somebody who's completely out of the loop, I guess that means everybody keeps their skins and stuff. I imagine, and it means it doesn't fragment the player base and stuff. So everybody has to go to CS2. All tournaments have to be on CS2. I don't know, but I was just like, what? They like straight up just delete. Like you can still, I think you can still access it if you go to like right click settings, launching some special mode, and all this stuff. But like, it's not supported really, right? So yeah, so CS2 is it now. So like, I was like, this is bizarre because I went to go and find it on Steam as well, and I was like, it was already in my library. I was just like very confused.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we played like a couple of rounds last night, just casual. Like I don't play competitive CS. I've always been bad at CS to be honest. But it's kind of nice playing. Like I did sort of like toy with playing something competitive for a bit. I was like, should I have a go at doing something like Valorant or something like that? Like maybe, see people playing it. Like lots of people like it. It's like kind of good. It's a bit like abilities, whatever. But they're just like, I feel like I'm just getting too old. I was just like, it's too much to learn. I don't know the maps. I don't know the characters. I don't know the abilities. It's like, man. Whereas like CS2, I'm like, I know all the maps basically.
Right.
Like I don't know the ins and outs of like which peak or whatever. But like I freaking know the layout. I know that if I walk past this corridor, then there's another lane down on my left, and I'm not just going to get shot from it because like I know where it is. So there's that like huge barrier that's like not there for playing CS2. So we had a blast on that last night, and yeah, it was interesting. It reminded me just how obnoxious I find the like recoil or like profile system in CS to be. I mean, I know why it's that way. That's fine. Apparently, I found out today because I was actually looking it up, just like what actually is the spray pattern for these things? Because like we may well go and play a bit. Apparently, there's a setting you can toggle on, which is the weapon or the weapon crosshair follows the recoil. So obviously, old timers are probably not going to want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like if you're not really, because like, am I going to go and learn the spray patterns? Like, probably not. So you're probably better off having like recoil follows, like crosshair follows the pattern, because then at least you can sort of control it in real time. Because like otherwise, there's no real indication of where the bullet's going to go next. You just have to kind of know and play around with it in some map, some training map or whatever.
Yeah.
So like that's that is kind of interesting. I didn't try it last night and was just like dealing with it. And there was like multiple times of me just being like, oh man, I remember why I hate CS recoil so much. Like another friend of mine who's like, he's naturally more talented FPS player than me actually. And he was just like, he was like, I just so much prefer Call of Duty style recoil rather than like CS style recoil. I've always preferred that kind of thing. But I did have like my shining moment. So after the first little bit, I ended up getting into it. It was all right. I had like one shining moment, which was insanely good. And I think I did at one point try to align my sensitivities together, so they are quite similar to Tarkov. Admitted, like to be fair, so there is some crossover now, which is good. My muscle memory does at least like move from one to the other. And we're playing on a relatively new map, and I was like, I just wanted to use like one of the snipers. I didn't really want to use the AWP because you're very slow, so I was like, I'll use the scout because I have like fond memories of the scout. It's not meta at all. Like, it's like 2 body hits to kill, and it's bolty. But I was like, I would just use this for a bit of fun. It's fine. And there's some dude like popped around the corner as I like turned up and was scoping in, and a smoke grenade popped out literally at that moment. But I knew where the guy was, and like I flick headshot him just on pure muscle memory through the smoke. Like I couldn't even see him, and it comes up on the scoreboard like blind fire like through the smoke thing. And I was like, guys, look at that! Mom, get the camera! Like I was like, this is crazy. I was like, that's amazing. I was not expecting to hit a shot like that, but the whole rest of it was like, usually there's like 1 or 2 people on the team that were like they're just like clearly good at the game and play a lot, and we're just like destroying everybody. And so in the face of that, like it's totally not meta, right? In the CS is like there's all these different guns, and the game revolves around the Desert Eagle, the M4, the AK, and the AWP. That's it. The game is played with 4 guns for like 99% of the time.
Most,
unless you're playing like scrub tier. And so all the other guns are like not meta and all bad. But at trash tier, it doesn't even matter. And I got most of my kills with the semi-auto shotgun, which is like,
Oh, that's great.
really bad. It's not a good gun, but because we're all just so terrible, like whether it was the way that I was playing with it, like I had to like move up on people and like try to get behind people and stuff. I ended up getting like 4 or 5 kills in a round and stuff with it or whatever. Like we were playing, it was casual, so we were playing like 8v8, like 9v9 and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
But I had like some rounds that were just like complete massacres. Just nobody could hit their shots, and I'm just like blasting away with these semi-auto, just like MP153 vibes from Factory on Tarkov, like coming to the fore. It was a good time. So no, we had fun actually. I'll probably play a bit more. It was a good game.
When I was on my CS:GO binge, or was like I'm like done with Dota 2. Let me go play CS:GO, and grind that out. So I was playing ranked in like the silver tiers, like the early tiers. Like everyone was using the P90 because you could like move and shoot, and it was just like it was like fairly accurate.
Yeah.
Even I would succumb to the P90, and it's just like the ultimate noob gun. I love it.
Yeah.
Dude.
It's so much fun. Yeah. Actually, there's one thing that I would say about CS2 though, and I did see this a little bit before, was about nading mechanics, because that's the other really important part about CS, right? Which is flashbangs, smoke grenades, and frags. Frags just to make people move. Flashbangs are like incredibly powerful. They're not as long as in EFT, but they're super powerful for pushing an angle.
Mm-hmm.
And they even if they go behind you, they still give you some blur, and smokes, which pop incredibly quickly and are like very effective, right? And so, but there's
Don't
new
forget
mechanics.
Molotovs.
Oh, and there's Molotovs too. Yeah, there's Molotovs too.
Just
I was thinking like, yeah.
Let's
I
see.
think was that in Go? Yeah, because I played mostly Source. Like that's really where most of my game time was.
Yeah.
So I probably got like, I don't even know anymore. I don't think they even track the stats when I played Source, but I probably have like 500 hours of Source and like 60 of Go, something like that. But yeah, so the nade mechanics in CS2 are actually kind of cool, especially around the smoke grenade in particular, because the smokes pop out and they pop really quick, and they've got this really cool like volumetric effect when they come out like this.
Yeah, that's right.
As you shoot, it kind of like it like sucks some of the smoke through. It like dissipates the smoke slightly, which is like kind of cool.
Yeah.
But then you can throw a frag into the smoke, and it like dissipates the smoke for a second, which is really awesome. And apparently, I didn't actually do this, but somebody said this to me, so I hope this is true. Apparently, if there's a Molotov on the ground, you can smoke it and put the fire out. So there's now these interactions between the different nades. It's pretty interesting. I was like, oh, that's like kind of cool. Like it's not like Valorant abilities or something, but it's sort of like sort of along the routes towards that a little bit. It's like some extra complexity there, which is I think it's cool.
Yeah, I think the smoke mechanics are pretty cool, because they're like, as you described, they fill the, like if you throw them in the vents, they'll like like previously it was just like a sphere of smoke. It didn't really matter, but now it's like spatial awareness. It will actually fill the vents and go further and travel through the vents, whereas previously it wouldn't. So I think there's a lot of cool stuff there.
Yeah, I don't know what it was like in Go, but in Source, you used to like throw a smoke into a vent, and it was just like outside the vent as well.
I'm pretty sure it's the same.
Whereas now it's like, as you say, it's like volume aware, or like item aware, like map layout aware. So there's a certain volume of smoke, and so if it goes in a some kind of shaft or something, then it will like go much further, because it's like it's got a certain volume to fill the space. It's like it's cool. It's very cool. Yeah, I'm liking it. So I'm gonna try out this like aim follows the recoil thing and see how it feels, which will then avoid me having to like learn it in depth like before I even begin to play the game, which is kind of how it feels right now. It's like you can't really like, unless you're going to single tap every gun always, you just can't really play without learning the sprays. Like it's just
I mean
every
you
fight feels random.
It's not good.
It's not a good experience.
Yeah,
you come up against people who are good and they just kill you every time. And they just kill you every time. Like there's no two ways about it. And so it's just so I'm going to try that one. I'm going to try that as a new setting apparently. So never been seen in CS before. So we'll see how that feels. And I mean I'm intrigued, but it's going to be nice. It's another cool game to chill with the homies. I've been having sleep issues with the little ones, which makes it very hard in the evening to play like Dota or whatever. Like I just have to pass up. I'm just like, I just can't, right? Like if I'm needed, I just have to go. Whereas like on CS, you're just like, I'm just playing a casual game. It doesn't matter. And I could just freaking leave or just like go AFK or spectate or whatever. Like so much easier. Which is awesome.
What did you think of the movement? I gotta ask. The inertia.
I guess the thing about CS is that like it feels like CS is very archaic, right? And they haven't changed it really, so it just feels the same way as it always has. Like the inertia is weird because it's like you don't have inertia in a sense that like you have to redirect your momentum, but it takes you time to start and slow down. I think like I didn't look at it in detail, but there's also no sprinting in CS either. No. It's only like there's only walking and like sneaking. That's it. So it's like so it's a different feel, right? And like Tarkov, you're like throwing your weight forwards and then coming to a stop. And yeah, there's like in Tarkov there's slowdown. I would guess just from my experience so far is that Tarkov has slowdown as well as acceleration, and I don't think CS really has much slowdown. I think it's almost all acceleration. I think. I'm not sure, but maybe there's a little bit.
Well, the real dilemma here is like because like with CS:GO or it's Counter Strike, you get it like if you're using the traditional gun, a good gun, if you will,
not the auto shotty,
not the not the P90. To be accurate, perfectly accurate, you got to be standing still. So there's a incentive to, and obviously you have to traverse the map, right? So there's like an incentive to quickly come to a stop, right?
Yeah.
And one of the ways you can do that is if you get the timing right, you can counter strafe. Like the lazy, we'll say like the lazy man approach is just like let's say you're holding D and you want to come to a stop. You could either let go of D, which you would deaccelerate, or you could also, while still holding D, just hold A, which would do a similar thing. I don't know if there actually would be a difference between the two. I'm not sure which one is faster, but you're essentially like applying equal force to the opposite direction.
I don't know if that matters. Like, I'm not sure.
And then like what the pro thing to do is like you let go of D, so you start the deacceleration process, and then you tap A just long enough to where you accelerate the opposite direction to get an even faster standstill, So I would say like if you're, once you try the AK or like M4 with the new crosshair follows thing, to see how that feels, I'm curious, like, how does because I really like the counter strafe mechanics, and I wish Tarkov would have something similar-esque. At least have the keys function. let the two inputs work. That would be a good step. But
I mean, I'm almost certain, right, that the slowdown is like way faster than in EFT. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah,
but like because like CS is a much weirder profile though. Like EFT, even though there's all these funny mechanics and people complain about inertia and all this stuff, like you do feel more like you're an actual real human in the map. I would say EFT is a lot more immersive in that sense. Like CS, you feel like a physics prop on wheels. There's no head bob.
A bit.
There's no ADS.
I feel that.
There's no run. Like it's just you glide around the map, and the acceleration and the deceleration is like perfectly smooth. So you come to the corner, you're just like, really good. And you're just like, it's like super super smooth. So it's like it's competitive, sure, but like, is it immersive from like a you're a soldier fighting in the gritty darkness of the far future? Like, no, not really. But like, that's not really what CS is trying to be. So that's fine. But yeah, I'm intrigued. We'll see what it's like. I mean, to me, it felt like any other Counter Strike that I played. But like, I'd hardly play CS, so it's I don't have a nuanced appreciation of the experience. Like I quickly looked up some of the pattern stuff, and that's how I found the article about having this aim follow mode. And people were just like comparing the two, and they're just like, so you look, there's recoil. Is the RPM different on the AK? Like, is it very slightly different between Go and like CS2 and stuff? And they're like comparing these two recoil profiles on Reddit, and I'm just like, it's that meme. It's just like, what's the difference? I'm just like, it's the same picture. Like, what is it? It doesn't look any different to me. They look the same. But obviously, it's like some stuff in EFT where some people say, oh, it looks the same, and it's clearly not. But We'll see. We'll see. I don't think I'm going to become a CS pro anytime soon, but it's a fun thing to just blast
Gonna
around
phase
with
up,
the mates,
bro.
you know. With that headshot the
Yeah.
other day, who knows?
Giga phase,
shining
Giga beef phase.
Yeah, phase GigaBeef. No, I feel like you probably don't want any association with them anymore these days. But...
That's cool. Yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll try CS. I don't know. It just like kind of like as you described. I like CS:GO for like that hyper competitive. Like you're like you feel like some type of painter with your mouse. You're like an artist. It's like this smooth flicking. Like I don't know. I like it kind of like for the purely for like the aiming, the skill aspect, if you will.
Yeah. It's
But
very skillful.
Like, my days of that are long gone.
Same here. Like, am I going to solo queue with it? Very unlikely. Am I going to play
Yeah.
casual on my own? Very unlikely. Like, will I, six stack into a lobby with a load of mates? Probably. That's kind of the game for me, It's the same thing with Dota,
Yeah.
right? It's like these days my Dota rule is I don't play with more than 2 people that I don't know. We have to have a majority on the team of 5, otherwise I'm not playing the game.
Yeah.
Like, so it's just, hey, you're gonna play some Dota, and it's
rules.
just there's 2 of us. I'm just like, no,
Yeah.
we're not playing outnumbered with like
Right.
randos. It's not the way. Well, I'll play with 2 randos. That's my limit. It has to be
Yeah.
3 of us, the 2 people that I know and me. More than that, we're not doing it.
I guess just closing out here. I'll just quickly wrap up. I played a game recently called Liza P, which I did not know anything about it. I just saw a couple of Dark Souls YouTubers / Elden Ring YouTubers do some videos on it. I was like, huh, what is this? Liza P. What? I mean, like, what? P what?
It's a weird name.
Yeah, so it's short. I mean, it's based off the Pinocchio story. It's like a reimagination of the story, if you will. So that's what the P stands for. But yeah, I was just like, what is this? But I watched one review and I got halfway through. I was like, okay, this is definitely a game I'm gonna like. No question. Bought it, played it, and it is like it's so bizarre because I really enjoyed the game. I liked it a lot, and for those people out there who are Souls-like fans, Dark Souls fans, it's essentially very Bloodborne and like a little bit of Sekiro mixed in to it to sort of like give you an idea.
I don't know either of those 2.
And it's basically, I mean, the Soul series in general is like very straightforward. Okay, so it's an action RPG. You slay enemies. Enemies give you a currency. In Dark Souls, it'd be souls. Okay, and that currency you carry with you. If you die, that currency drops to that location, and you respawn back at a checkpoint. Checkpoints are like bonfires or scattered about. The world is like multi-layered in some cases. Sometimes it's linear, but you basically fight a bunch of bosses. Stories very obtuse and obscure and like mysterious. And yeah, that's pretty much the game. I mean, when your souls drop or your currency drops, if you die again, don't get them, then you lose that,
Right.
and you spend the souls to like buy items, level up. But they really, like, in my opinion, with Dark Souls, they really nail like boss fights, and lore is like a pretty good element. Like it's good. It's like super easy to get immersed in it, and but as far as like gameplay goes, just like the boss fights are so satisfying. And this game, Liza P, the boss fights were also really satisfying. But this game had like a few differentiating things where it had like, and this is more leaning on the Bloodborne inspiration, which was like FromSoft, the developer of Dark Souls, their PlayStation 3 exclusive, I think, which I've never played. I'm still coping for the day they come out with it on PC. But we'll see. And yeah, that game was like still like a Dark Souls-esque game, but they did a lot of things differently. And so this game kind of does some of that stuff as well, this Liza P's game. But the story was like impressive. Like I was genuinely surprised how good the story was. It's like some of the characters in there too are just like really, like it really made you ponder. I mean, the story is essentially about like what it means to be human in a sense.
Wow,
Because you're
deep.
dealing with like, yeah, because you're dealing with like puppets and
Oh yeah, okay, I see.
it's yeah, that's where the Pinocchio part comes in. And it's like it's actually really like I enjoyed it from the story side.
Mhm.
And they do a few things with the gameplay. Like one of the really cool things they did is like typically in like the Dark Souls games you would you pick a weapon, maybe you swap to a weapon and like the weapon performs like scales based off whatever statue level. It's like some weapons are like scale greatly off strength, some scale a little bit off this. You could like modify the scaling a bit. So you would like spec your character a certain way. What they did is like they still have that aspect, but then you can take the blade and separate it from the handle and mix and match. So you could take like a hatchet handle
Hmm.
and put like a spear on top of it, and it would like retain the hatchet moveset so where you're like swinging, but now you just got this giant long rapier sticking out from it or spear. It was like so like I don't know, it's really cool. I really liked it. I mean, I'm sure there's like some crazy stuff you could do. I was trying to break it and I couldn't really find anything too breaking. I ended up with like using a curved great sword handle and put a giant wrench head mounted on top of it. It was like this like he would like hold it one arm it on the back of his like shoulder and then like just like swing it about. It was like just this giant wrench club. It was so goofy, but because how they handled it was like I said, the handle would be like the move set and like the scaling, but then the actual like damage and like speed would be based off the blade and also the weight. So like it was like pretty well balanced, which was like nice, but also kind of felt like it was hard to break, which was kind of
Yeah.
like sad on my end. It was like so well balanced, I just couldn't find anything too game breaking. So I guess that's a good thing, but at the same time,
It is
like,
nice to break stuff sometimes. You're just
yeah,
like,
it
oh, I
is
found
nice
this
to break
OP
stuff.
build.
Yeah. Because like something that just felt like, man, I might as well just use, keep it all the same, like what comes with it,
Yeah.
But anyways, at the end of the day, I play the game. It's really fun. It's very similar to Dark Souls if you like it. There's a big emphasis on blocking. They got like the system where it's kind of leans into like the rhythm aspect of Dark Souls because typically you would, you have like a health bar and you have a stamina bar that drains and replenishes, very, very much like Tarkov's. And primarily how you avoid damage would be like dodging or dodge rolling. And you get like invincibility frames,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
where like you could just eat attacks essentially. That was kind of just how you could also block and parry, but this game like you can do that, but then there's like these they call fury attacks where it plays like a special sound effect. The boss turns all red and glowing. He's like winding up for this big attack, and you can't use the invincibility frames. You have to either like completely dodge it, like get out of the way, or get a perfect frame block. You can't just hold the block button. You have to hit at the right time. So like some of these bosses, dude, they would just be like wailing on you like 3 times, 4 times, 8 times in a row until you have to get like these perfect blocks.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was like really challenging, a lot of fun. I enjoyed it very much so, but it was a pretty challenging game overall. But it at the end of the day, I was just like, man, this was like such a good game, but this was just like a complete ripoff. I mean, not a ripoff, but it's just like it's like they took Tarkov and made, Space Marine X, and it's like, all the Tarkov S things. It's a different coat of paint. A good compelling story. They did a few things differently, but it's like, the soul of it is like you
Something
just
else.
copied the homework. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
at the same time, it was just like I also really like the homework that you copied.
Yeah, it's like it's a good game. Like, doesn't matter, right? Like, yeah,
yeah.
I
So
think, I think there's
know.
validity to that. It's like there's demand for this. They can only make so many games, so
That's true.
We'll just make another one, and people can play something that's not the same. It is different, and go for it. I think that's probably fine if it's done well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just that's the thing. It's got to be done well because there's plenty. I mean, there's a whole category of games called Souls-like,
Yeah.
where but this one is just like so well executed on many fronts. Like it just really kind of just like made me question, not only my humanity from the story, but just like, damn, I don't know. It's like, does it have a soul? Is it soulless? Is it okay that it's soulless? Yeah, loved it.
Cool.
Such
Cool.
I probably sunk like 40 hours into it,
Mhm.
beat the game, and I think I'll play it again in a couple of years. Kind of like revisit it because I almost wanted to play the campaign through again, but I was like, no. I started to lose at that point I'm just like, I'm losing a little interest. Like it was a lot of fun going through it the first time around, but
That's always good to come back to these things a bit once you've kind of forgotten about it. Oh, how did this work and stuff? Like
yeah,
rediscover. That is
yeah.
fun. Yeah, just before we close out, I'll be super quick on the other game that I've been playing outside of EFT, which is basically a Veritas recommendation. I was like kind of like I've not been really following Starfield. I've been seeing it coming on the horizon and been broadly interested because I quite enjoy like single player space stuff in general. In particular, one of my favorite games was like X3, which is like a big space sim kind of game, like single player, but it's like it's big economic trade simulator really in space. And it's like building stations and factories and whatever, and it goes from individual ship up to like big empire, whatever. So like I quite like that kind of game. There's not that many out there really. And I'm less of a dogfighty kind of person, more of a like progression kind of guy. So I'm like I like Elder Scrolls and all of those kind of games. So I was like I probably should like Starfield, but there's so many reviews that are like I think I probably will enjoy it honestly, and I'm going to play it at some point. But like with the mixed reception that it's got, I do think for me I want to wait a little bit, and I want them to put DLSS in, and I want it to run well. And like maybe I'll see like if there's a couple of quality of life mods that people have made for it, whatever. Like I'm not in a rush to play it, like I wasn't hotly like watching every YouTube video in the run up to it. Like it just so happens to have released, and it's still kind of pricey. Like the cheapest I could find to get it was like £45, which it's still like it's on the upper end for something that I'm just going to play through on my own in my spare time. So I was kind of like a little bit bummed about the sort of mixed reception, and thinking like, well, I still kind of want to play something like that. I almost hyped myself up to playing it just to see what people said first. But I was like, well, now I'm sort of in the space vibe. And I know Veritas has been like very downbeat on the game in general, like mainly for its dialogue, which like I'm not really a big dialogue guy. I don't really care. I'm much more of a gameplay kind of person. I'm a skip through the dialogue most of the time kind of player. But he recommended another game called Outer Wilds, which I have been playing, and I know he said it was like one of maybe his favorite game of all time. After playing it, which is pretty crazy, and like he hasn't given really any details away about it because it's very difficult to describe, and B, you don't want to give any spoilers away, of course. But like after playing it, I would say I'm probably 80% of the way through the game now at this point. Like it's relatively short. I think apparently there's like I don't know how many hours there are supposedly in it. I mean, people saying it's like you can maybe get through it in like 15 if you really rush or whatever. Like maybe it's up to like 25 or something. I'm not really sure, but I think I'm about 80% of the way through. And it's an indie game and it's in space. But it's got like unique mechanics I've never seen in any game before. It reminds me a little bit of like it's a completely different type of game, but it reminds me a little bit of Subnautica. If anybody enjoyed Subnautica and you enjoy space, you'll almost certainly enjoy this. It's like individual, like self-directed progression based on like solving puzzles and figuring out what to do next. That feels like you're doing it all, but it's actually just the game is like immaculately designed. That's the way that I would describe it. Like Subnautica itself could get confusing sometimes when you're trying to like solve the puzzle of like what's happening on the planet and and like how to escape or whatever. But this game's like kind of cool because it's like there's so much to it. There's a big one of the main mechanics like on your ship that you have is there's a like a rumor mode thing, and like basically the points of interest that you visit come up as like a block, and things like join up like a sort of almost like a conspiracy theory pinboard. And as you discover stuff, they link up together, and sort of informational items appear in between based on what you learned. So you can't really like get lost. Like there's a lot of information, But because it's all displayed in a nice way, you could be like, oh, what did I do when I went here? And you can like go back and read it and say, oh, and that links to this and that links to this. And you're like, okay, so I probably need to go and do this next. You know, it's like it does a really good job of like stopping you from getting lost. Because it is very sort of like it's weird. I was kind of expecting, because like Subnautica also there's some like progression in the game, but in Outer Wilds there's no progression. You could technically go to any place right from the beginning, but you don't know how, and you have to learn how to do the things to actually go and do them. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to. And it's like it's quite a complicated world. It's like the universe, I would say, is like small in scope, but very, very rich in detail, which is like the way that it goes. So it's like a tiny little solar system model, is how the universe works. You start off on one planet and you have to basically like learn to fly the ship, because it's not actually that easy. But as soon as you lift off, it becomes very apparent very quickly that the worlds are very, very small. And so you lift off and it's just like, oh, there it is. Like it's like the curvature is like immediately obvious. And you can see all of the other planets like spinning around in the sky, even when you're just on the surface. And like I was reading a little bit about it separately, and they were like, oh yeah, we actually had like loads of issues with the game engine because the whole game is on physics objects. There are no static landscapes at all in the whole game. It's all on like orbiting spheres, the whole thing, the whole time. And you can see, like when you're on the surface, you can see the other ones going around because it's such a small scale. They orbit at like a crazy speed. And the stuff like, you know, closer to the sun moves like incredibly quickly, and it's like, oh, sometimes it's even kind of hard to land on because it's like going so fast. But yeah, there's like this unique mechanic. There's other unique stuff about it, which is cool that I like. You know, I'm not going to say because that would spoil it. But it's like it's fascinating. Like it leans very hard into like hard sci-fi, which is also my forte in terms of like fiction and genres of fiction and sort of media that I consume too. I love anything that's hard sci-fi, and they've managed to make puzzles within the genre of like hard science fiction about, you know, like wormholes and like quantum mechanics and stuff like this, but like you actually have to like solve them whilst keeping these concepts in mind that it like teaches you as you go through. Like it's nuts. It's nuts. I've never played anything like it. I can see why it's like Veritas' favorite game ever, because it's like right up his street, and it's right up my street on that basis as well, because it's got a very scientific like basis to it. There's lots of science all the way through, but it's really, really good. And you kind of you're sort of like almost like a detective, kind of like figuring out like what to do next and where to go. But they're always like, I've never been in a situation where I'm just like not sure what to do. There's always something else to go and explore and somewhere else to go and try and figure out like how to solve this puzzle. It's just like, how do I even get to this place? You know, like how do I get there? Like I've done this to get here, and then, you know, sometimes you have to go somewhere else. But there's like the water planet, and then there's that's got like a load of cyclones on it. There's like the main planet, which is like relatively benign. There's like one right next to the sun, which is like in a pair, and there's like sand flowing and stuff. Like it's very cool. The whole thing's just super cool.
I'm showing a gameplay from IGN, and he just went through like this yellow planet, and it was like clouds and tornadoes, and he landed.
Yeah.
It looks intriguing.
It's very intriguing. Because it's so cheap as well. It's like £10 or something. So it's probably like $10 to $15 or something like that. So I was like, well, you know, even if I don't like it, like I'm not really lost. But yeah, if you like hard science fiction, you like space, you liked Subnautica, I almost guarantee that you'll like this game. I think it's very cool. Yeah, no weapons at all. It's all just like problem solving, whatever. It's like it's even weapon less than Subnautica, which is pretty weapon light in general, but there are some. And even more just like you can do what you want, and you are the limitation than Subnautica, which is like, you need to get to a certain level of base or whatever. There's like a certain base building thing to Subnautica that you have to get to and like upgrade to different, you know, vessels before you can go to certain depths or whatever. It's just like there's none of that, and there's just like you're the limitation. Your understanding of the way the universe works is your limit is the limitation that you're stuck behind, and like your understanding of how all of this all of the mechanics work. It's like it's very cool. And it's really not that long.
Does it like handhold you along the way, or is it kind of like you got to figure it out?
You got to figure it out.
Trial and error. Okay, all right.
Yeah, you got to figure it out, and like it'll give you hints as you go through. So like there's a lot. There's like you read stuff when you get to the various places, and those texts sort of give you clues as to what to do next. But you sort of have to like sort of read between the lines, or like sometimes you look at the computer and it tells you Like, oh, you went here and you saw this and da da da, and it sort of gives you ideas. But you have to like piece it together. It's not like not that handholdy. Like the puzzles you have to work out yourself. It'll give you some hints, but you have to work it out yourself. It gives you enough information to solve it. Let's put it that way. But yeah, I'm not finished yet, so I'm still trying to piece together the last few things. Like there's still stuff I'm confused about, but yeah, it's quite some of it's kind of mind bending, but it's great. It's good fun. I love that kind of thing, like exploring a completely like new universe and just like piecing it together. It's proper classic hard sci-fi. Like you just get thrown in with absolutely no understanding of what is going on, and you just and you just have to like figure it out. You slowly just work out what's happening. It's like the classic hard sci-fi formula.
I could dig it.
Good.
I'll have to, you know what, right now, I got Steam open. I'll throw it on the old wish list.
Yeah. Big recommend. I'm thankful for V for pointing it out, to be fair. Good.
You just reminded me of one other indie game that I'll briefly mention was that I finished yesterday was Gris, which is just a beautiful indie game. From the like artwork and music and story. I mean, it's a story about grief and the 5 stages of grief, and I won't say much more than that, but it's just like I don't even, it's just beautiful, man. Like the art style is like a mixture, like it's hand drawn ish. It's kind of hard to explain, but it has that hand drawn aesthetic, you know, and it just looks gorgeous, man. And the music along with it is just like, it's just like, it was so like, it's basically Gris, Gris, which means gray in Spanish. I think it's by I'm pretty sure they speak Spanish. The developer. I followed them on Twitter, but I don't know if they're like where they're from. But anywho, yeah, it's just man, I really can't even put into words because it's like it really just brings out emotions in a lot of ways through like various things that happen in the game but it's like no dialogue, so it's also just kind of, it's an experience, man. It's like,
that's cool.
It's very, you know, it's a platformer, pretty straightforward, but just the, you know, games as an art form, this is like that for me, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I've not even heard of it, to be fair.
yeah, I think it's you know, a couple years, like 2008. It's published by Devolver Digital. It got some a little bit of reception in you know, some of the it looks like it's okay. It's fairly popular. I mean, there's like 1 million views on the YouTube trailer here. I mean, that's not crazy when you're talking, you know, AAA games, but for indie games, it looks like it did pretty well. Yeah, you could probably get on your Switch if you have a Switch or Steam Deck. Do you have a Steam Deck?
I actually don't know.
Okay, I thought maybe you did. Maybe someone else I'm thinking of. But anywho, yeah, indie game week here at ScavTalk.
Yeah, for sure. They're good though, right? And they're like relatively low investment. That's the thing, and they don't take that long normally either. You know, you're not expecting. And this is the thing. This is the big difference. You're not expecting to spend 10,000 hours in an indie single player, so they can be priced at, you know, $15, $10, whatever, and you're just like, okay, I'll play that, and I got my money's worth, and had a great time. And it's interesting mechanics. It's almost, to me, it's almost like the difference between, you know, reading a novel versus reading, you know, a series of short stories. Right? You can very like you can hyper focus on a particular element without having it to be, you know, some great epic, and just like have a good experience within a shorter format with particular something very specific that you're looking at doing, some particular concept, without having to like milk it out for, you know, Gris 5, you know, the art style returns, you know, it's like it's not necessary. And that's the beauty of them, right? You can make them these one-offs which are around some concept, and then that's it. Yeah, no, it's good.
Plus you get the exposure of like different ideas from like, to use your analogy, like different authors, you know. That's really what I like most about them. These just like the really good ones just like really stand out, you know, they feel really special.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's been a long one here at the ScavTalk HQ with the Skype shenanigans. So we will wrap it up here. Thanks for tuning in as always, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye-bye.